What's up, potheads and political junkies? You're watching Cannabis Culture News Live. I'm Jeremiah Vandermeer, editor of Cannabis Culture and Pot TV, sitting here with my McMahon. My man McMahon, my other man, David Menlo Levine, and Marius Manstoner over here. His arm and disembodied arm. David is just back from Mexico.
I am Jeremiah, and I brought with me many treats.
Many treats.
When I grab the mic. Yo, Flav, what is this? You can't copyright no beats, man. Is they crazy? All right.
So you have some show and tell from Mexico.
I do have some show and tell from Mexico.
It's kind of the Mexico show today, so that's perfect.
Good. I can double hand it. Here. You can hold that up to the camera, though.
I want to check this bottle out.
That is the sexiest
Precious
bottle
Venus.
of liqueur. It is Damiana liqueur. Damiana mimics testosterone, makes you feel like a 14-year-old schoolboy.
Oh.
So I brought back as many of these bottles as Customs and Immigration would allow.
And how many is that?
That's 2.
That's
and then
all.
I sent back 2 more in the mail, and it turns out that is a very expensive way of bringing alcohol into the country. Almost a plane ticket is cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
It costs $17 for the bottle. It costs $96 for the shipping of each bottle. And then there's duty and taxes on top of that. I haven't gotten the final bill, but it's looking like $150 if you want to send it back. But if you just stick it in your luggage, then it's no harm, no foul.
How much? $20?
Oh, yeah, like $17 retail.
Wow.
And then the price of the cost of a plane ticket.
So we'll just keep this one here then, right?
No, I don't think so. But we may be having a little gathering at the Herb Museum for staff and family and friends, which you 3, of course, qualify in one way or another, so I'll let you know when that's happening.
Now I just wanted to mention really quickly, I still have a picture here behind me of Mama Kind on the screen, because Mama Kind is still currently on her hunger strike as long as I haven't checked this. She's still day 15.
Still not eating.
Right. Wow.
I've gone 11 days without food, and around that time, I was on a fast. Around that time, I started to feel quite lightheaded.
Yeah.
So day 15 is getting
I can't imagine.
Dangerous.
Well, and there's only so far I think this kind of thing can go, and I'm not trying to. I wouldn't want to dissuade her from fulfilling her protest goals. But man, you got to be careful when it comes to these things. She doesn't want to go blind or something.
She has gotten some press.
Yeah.
But she's not on the front cover of the newspaper every day.
Unfortunately not.
I think you can only really successfully do a hunger strike when you're like a big name and people can't ignore the fact that you're starving yourself to death.
Exactly.
Like Gandhi can get away with it, but, other people can be ignored until they die.
Right, exactly. And the press, they really haven't, they paid attention a little bit to her on this one, but not very much.
Maybe we should send out a press release saying day 15 still on the hunger strike.
That would be a good idea. We should get an update from Mama Kind. Maybe I'll try and get a hold of her during when we play one of the videos and see if she can provide us a little update or something.
Unfortunately, this the sick people does not, in the news, does not affect everybody.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sell a lot of ad space. And again, this is probably one of the reasons why the mainstream media, she's not being covered more. It's just because it just doesn't generate enough interest, unfortunately. Yeah. A lot of people are, well, it doesn't really affect me personally. So, that's tends to be the case in so much with the mainstream media. So that's where we come in.
Yeah, totally.
Fill that gap.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, it's a shame that people might have to die for other people to understand how serious this Harper monopolization and cartelization of the medical marijuana market move is. But I think, eventually people are going to be dying anyway from not being able to afford the medicine. So she's just kind of being a little more assertive in her how she decides to die.
Yeah. It's just going to continue, and I realize exactly why she's doing it. They're not leaving her any option.
No.
Really. I mean,
No,
she
she's either
needs to medicate very often, and she can't take edibles and other things because of other conditions she has.
she's either going to die one way or another, so she decided to die in a more combative way.
Right.
And I can't say I blame her, but it's brutal. It just shows you how evil this new Harper model is.
It is.
And I think any company that participates in that program without spending all its profits on removing the monopoly and allowing personal growing is part of that evil and is benefiting from that evil, like PPS and others who've gotten approval to be the millionaire marijuana.
Prairie Plant Systems, for those of you who don't know,
Yeah,
PPS.
PPS, Prairie Plant Systems. They have 2 companies that have gotten approval.
Canimed.
Well, no, they only have Canamed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
PPS didn't get approval?
Oh, maybe is it both of them on the
Yeah,
list?
I got
maybe
both
it is
of them.
both of them on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
right. So there's 4 of them total now.
There's 4 people on the list total.
Let's bring the list up.
And the way I understand it to be, the security costs and the accounting costs total in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, which keeps growing out of the range of most people who can't afford this. Can't afford the security or the accounting that the Health Canada is demanding. It's kind of a way to set up kind of a rich guy's growers market.
Not only that, investors who do have the money, who can afford to put the hundreds of thousands of dollars into security cost and monitoring costs and electronic shipping and labeling and all these other things, who can actually meet the requirements, they want to cover their investments. So that reflects directly in the cost of the product.
Yeah.
So in sense, by Health Canada putting these restrictions in there, they're ensuring that no matter who does it or how they do it, because it's cost prohibitive, they need to recoup their costs, therefore ensuring that the medicine is going to be costly.
Oh, it's going to be expensive no matter what.
Forcing high cost onto the meds.
Yeah.
To where something it can be grown
It can't
in
be.
your backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
By yourself at no cost, literally.
That would bring the price down.
That now we're down to pennies.
Yeah.
Well, the problem, I think, is that rather than endorse the model as a form of legal, most of the media actually called it a free market, which is funny because it's the opposite of a free market. It's shutting down all the small-time timers and over-regulating it. But instead of endorsing it as a form of legal cannabis, what activists, I think, should be doing is organizing a boycott of any business that isn't putting tens of thousands of dollars into the John Conroy legal challenge. I guess it's now a constitutional challenge. It used to be a class action lawsuit, and now it's become a constitutional challenge. So if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, and we should encourage people, just for their own interests, to go back to the black market where it looks like it's going to be cheaper and of better quality, and there's no standards that require irradiation for
I know, it's crazy.
low microbes.
It's not a black market. If everybody participates, the black market is the guys setting up the big grows for the big money. That'd be the black market. If we all say, no, you guys are actually the black market, we're going to do the farmer's market, we're going to keep it in-house, and just business as usual, what we've been doing for, the last 40, 50, 60 years, just we grow pot, we sell weed, we know people, we're all in our community to ourselves. It's only when we joined the medical regulations as set up by the government, we decided to play ball in their so-called legal system. Wow. If we decide to ignore the law and go about our own business, majority, I mean, really, at what point you say we should boycott? Well, everybody's got to do it, though.
Well, yeah, everyone has to boycott it for it to work. But what I think we have to ask ourselves as pot activists is, what is our responsibility? What should we tell our people? Is advise them is the best route for them, and not spending money with those who participate in the cartel and are not working to defend personal grow rights is, I think, in the best interest of those people. Now, whether you call it a black market, a green market, a farmer's market, or any kind of market. There's protected growers, protected by the police, who've signed up and can afford to sign up to this new system. And then there's everybody else who are vulnerable to arrest. And those are really the only two categories. Well, what pot activists should be doing is to get everybody into the category of legit grower. Like, there should be no monetary hurdle to overcome in order to become legitimate. It's an effing plant. It's like your aloe vera plant or your petunias in your backyard or in your window box, or you know, the plants that you grow inside. I went to the Canna Embassy in Den Haag, which is run by a friend of mine named Darpan, and he grows his 5 plants that you are allowed to grow in Holland, 5 plants. And the police just look the other way. In fact, you can grow a couple more. As long as you're a good person, the police still look the other way. And he has a bunch of plants out on his patio and a few plants indoors. Now, there's no mold, because he knows how to water his plants without spilling the water. And it looks just like everybody else's plants on everyone else's patio, except they're pot plants. They don't have any of the mold or fire hazard issues. Why? Because it's tolerated. Well,
they're not hiding it.
They're not hiding it. So all the problems come with having to hide it. If you stop having to hide it, these problems go away. They try to pretend that the problems are inherent with growing and that you need these huge security systems. He doesn't need any security system. He doesn't have any cameras, video cameras on his plants. Why? Because if you want pot, you grow pot. And that is the model we need to move towards, not this irrational, overregulated, monopolistic, millionaire growers club model that Harper seems to want to bully the world into becoming. And so that's another thing we have to do. We have to point out that the concerns raised by the Harper government are concerns over prohibited cannabis. They're not concerns over cannabis. And if cannabis was grown like everything else, those concerns would evaporate like butter in the sun.
Well, yeah, it's interesting that these government officials are so deathly afraid of marijuana legalization, but yet their own government forces, like down in the U.S., happen to be the ones bringing in a lot of that marijuana, or at least allowing their particular Mexican cartel to be the one who brings all of that in. So we're gonna be talking about that on the show a lot. Today's episode is about revelations made by one of the lawyers, the main lawyer, I guess, or one of the big-time lawyers of the Sinaloa Cartel, who has now gone public saying that he and the Sinaloa Cartel have been working together for over a decade, and working together to bring in all of the drugs into the United States. And the United States government was supplying the Sinaloa Cartel with weapons to eradicate their competition, and had the entire drug war was basically waged as a way to monopolize the drug war, to allow them to continue to produce and to go after anybody who gets in their way. David's got some books here.
I brought these books with me to Mexico and I got a chance to read them on my holiday. And on the topic of government organized crime collusion in the drug war, I think there's a lot of evidence piling up. I got 30 more books back at home on the very same topic of the CIA being the world's biggest drug dealer. I mean, by a factor of about 100. That, for example, this book right here, it's called Defrauding America. It's by a guy named Rodney Stitch. And
happy 420, everybody.
Happy 420.
Marius has changed his 420 alarm. It's no longer
Smoke them if you have them,
Star
or
Trek
vape them
related.
if you prefer.
Oh, nice.
Anyway,
okay.
This book came out in 1994. And in it is described a meeting that the CIA organized, which was the very first meeting of the Medellin Cartel. And the reason the CIA organized the first meeting of the Medellin Cartel is that the CIA was having trouble loading their planes with enough cocaine to make it worth their while. And they found that if they had organized all the cocaine...
I think we just went... hold on just a second.
Right.
I can't tell. My monitor's black. Oh, now it came back. Okay.
All right. So
sorry.
Back to the point I was making was that this book, Defrauding America, has a description of the first meeting of the Medellin Cartel. And the Medellin Cartel was formed by the CIA so that it would streamline their cocaine importation process, make it easier for 1981, make it easier for them to load up their planes filled with cocaine because they were having trouble bundling enough cocaine to make it worth their while. So that is interesting. In this book called The Conspirators, Secrets of an Iran-Contra Insider by Al Martin, we find out that Oliver North, decided that he was going to up the plane loads to 50,000 kilos of cocaine per month that the CIA was smuggling in to be distributed to the mafia, the dangerous organized motorcycles enthusiasts, and Freeway Ricky Ross on the West Coast, the black community, so that the CIA could have enough money for its secret wars in Central America, specifically the Contras.
Right.
Now, this single-handedly brought down the price of cocaine from $30,000 a key to $15,000 a key because of the glut, because of the amount of cocaine they were bringing in. I don't recall hearing that Pablo Escobar brought down the price of cocaine.
No kidding.
He was just one of many suppliers to the CIA, and they got a cut of every ounce that went through Mena, Arkansas, which was how Clinton got the job. He was governor of Arkansas at the time.
Right.
And
well, now there's speculation. We're getting wrapped up. We have to be very clear here between what we know to be fact and what is speculation.
One book is speculation, but when you've got whistleblower after whistleblower, you got Barry Seal testifying before he was assassinated. You got Chimp Tantum, one of the smugglers, before he was assassinated. You got Al Martin, one of the guys who was into the fraud of Iran-Contra, bank fraud, insurance fraud, every kind of fraud imaginable. These guys would just scam everybody for every cent they got. And he was also one of the guys who organized with Bush trips down to Panama. Bush was head of the CIA when he met with Noriega for the first time, put him on the CIA payroll. Noriega got uppity at the end of his political career, wanted to do a tell-all about him and his relationship with Bush. So next thing you know, Cheney and Bush are invading Panama.
Yeah.
So, speculation, sure, but people are in jail for 20 years on less evidence that has been amassed against Bush and
now the Bush stuff. You are working, David, on an article about this
big article on George Herbert Walker Bush, because I get tired of the racist imagery of Pablo Escobar being considered the world's biggest drug kingpin. Yeah. He wasn't. He was small potatoes compared to the CIA. The CIA were busy. This actually goes back to before the CIA. This goes back to the formation of the fraternity called Skull and Bones. Back in the 1830s, the America's biggest drug dealer at the time was a guy named Russell, and he dealt opium. And he brought his ships into China, and he brought it back into the United States, and he distributed opium. And he never made any more money than when opium was illegal. So what is his fraternity? His brother founded Skull and Bones. And a guy named Taft,
William H.
Howard Taft, was a Skull and Bones member who went on to be president of the United States. And in 1909, he signed the first international drug control treaty. The first time drugs were prohibited, opium was prohibited around the world, which allowed for the opium smugglers to jack up their prices to prohibition prices. And it's no surprise that Prescott Bush, who is George Herbert Walker's father,
Nazi sympathizer,
Nazi banker. He owned a lot of sugar beets in Cuba got a little pissed off when Castro took over those sugar beets and nationalized them.
Yep.
Along with his banking buddies, the Rockefellers, who had been in the business with the Bushes since 1905, since the old railroad days with Samuel Prescott Bush.
Right.
So they nationalized the oil companies in Cuba, and this pissed off the Rockefellers and the Bushes. Well, don't piss off the Rockefellers and the Bushes, or you're going to find your island country being invaded by a guy named George Herbert Walker Bush, who was in charge, not officially on paper in charge,
No.
but in charge of the Bay of Pigs invasion, because his whole stomping grounds was Florida, and he had an offshore oil rig, Zapata Offshore it was called, and he basically, his oil rig was within spitting distance of the island they used to launch the invasion of Cuba. Yeah, and before Castro took over Cuba, they used to bring in the cocaine from Cuba to his offshore oil rig, and his crew was never searched when they went to and from work every day by customs. So they had an easy time bringing in the cocaine from the boats to the offshore oil rig, from the offshore oil rig to Houston, to Florida, to Miami. And then that's how the CIA was raising money in the 50s. Well, Castro got in the way of that, so Bush was in charge of the invasion. The operation was called Operation Zapata. And the landing craft was the Houston and the Barbara. George was living in Houston and married to Barbara. All his aircraft in World War II was the Barbara 1, the Barbara 2, the Barbara 3. He had fun time naming his vehicles Barbara.
Yes.
And so Kennedy wouldn't supply the air cover necessary for the invasion to be a success. So what was his next job? Well, his next job was often Kennedy. He was often quoted as one of the only people in America who couldn't remember where he was the day Kennedy was shot. But in this book called Family of Secrets by Russ Baker, it came out, I think, in 2009. It has a very interesting little tidbit from, I believe it was the Dallas Morning News, Wednesday, November 20th, 1963. It's a club activities advertisement. American Association of Oil Well Drilling Contractors, 6:30 p.m., Thursday, Sheraton Dallas Hotel. George Bush, President, Zapata Offshore Company.
He was speaking then.
He was speaking the night before 6 p.m. in Dallas, the day Kennedy died, and he can't remember where he was the day Kennedy died. So there it is, the ad. I don't know if you can get a close-up shot of that.
Club activities, American Association of Oil Well Drilling Contractors.
Yeah, so
6:30 p.m.
So
Sheraton Dallas Hotel, George Bush.
Bush was also in close contact with these Cuban assassins called Operation 40. Operation 40 was put together, in fact, as an assassination squad for the CIA to deal with other world leaders who were interfering with their drug activities, like guys in Haiti, guys in Africa. They assassinated a bunch of world leaders, and then Kennedy was just naturally on their list of guys that were getting in the way of drug activities. So there is. I'm putting together this massive history. It's requiring a lot of reading, like more so than anything else I've done in the past. Because if you accuse an ex-president, a current member, lifetime member of the CIA, of being the world's biggest... He was
the director of the CIA.
Director of the CIA in 76 when Ford was in power. And he's claimed to have never been a part of the CIA before that. But he was in military intelligence just like his father. Yeah. He was a CIA brat. He lived on Jupiter Island, which is where Robert Lovett and other people who created the CIA also lived. He came out of Skull and Bones, which was a major recruiting source of talent for the CIA. Yeah. If you had practice keeping secrets in a secret society, you were able to keep secrets in a secret organization. And this is kind of Phi Kappa Epsilon used to be a secret society and stopped being a secret society in 1832, the year Skull and Bones was founded. Skull and Bones was founded because they needed a secret society to
do their nasty business,
to do their spying, to do their espionage, to do their corporate espionage, and to do their drug trafficking from the get-go, from the way back. So the idea that today there are revelations that the Mexican government and the cartels have been colluding together, that's nothing new. That is par for the course. That is business as usual. That is the reason the drug war continues. I mean, one of the reasons is because you got to have an excuse to overregulate or otherwise outlaw hemp so that Rockefeller and his oil buddies never have to compete with hemp ethanol, which is 6 times cheaper and doesn't have oil spills or oil wars, and it reverses the greenhouse effect and all these advantages to hemp ethanol. A lot
of really big advantages.
So they don't want that because they rule the world through oil. But the other advantage, I mean, aside from the drug companies selling synthetic hemp substitutes and you know, all these other plastics and all these other things that could be replaced with the cellulose from the ethanol from the hemp stock. Aside from all that, it's also a great way to raise money for your secret wars, to assassinate Allende in Chile, to change regime changes in Guatemala and Iran. This requires a treasure chest, a war chest, as it were. And the way they do that primarily is through drug trafficking. Because if you're a customs agent and a guy from the CIA or the DEA flashes you a badge, he says, sorry, you don't have clearance to open up this briefcase. What do? You let him through. And it makes it easy for the powers that be to smuggle things because they don't have problems at borders, not like you or I do.
No. Nobody's allowed to look at their stuff. And
and the other side of it is also that the U.S. is the world's largest weapons dealer. Oh, yeah? So, in a sense, they're raising money to support through drugs to support their buddies in the weapons industry.
Well, and actually, that's part of this whole recent series of revelations by the Sinaloa lawyer. Part of it is that the Fast and Furious fiasco is part of this whole fiasco, and that of course, the guns were being used to go after the competition. It wasn't that they got sent by mistake and all this stuff for informant purposes, and there's been to track them and everything. No, it was being given them for the specific purpose of having them shoot other people with them and kill them, their competition.
Which is partly why I think a lot of those weapons that have been used, they've recovered in Mexico, all have American serial numbers. They all came from the United States, like 97% of the weapons recovered.
And it's the same thing in Iran-Contra in the 1980s. Iran-Contra is specifically weapons for hostages, and weapons were part of the revenue-raising abilities to get money to the Contras. Now, they kind of said, oh, shoot, people are going to learn about all the cocaine and the bank fraud and the insurance fraud. Let's just call it Iran-Contra. Focus all of the hearings that are going to come out on the weapons and hostages part only, so that we can avoid any of the banking, insurance fraud, and the drug running. So only a little bit is exposed, and that's they'll give you something like a red herring or a little bit of their crimes in order to hide all the rest of them. That's what they call the family jewels too. The CIA had a few things they gave out at hearings. Here, focus on these things. Here, this is a really cool heart attack gun. Look at this. And then ignore all our domestic assassination programs and said,
sensationalize a few points.
Yeah, something visual to look at. And that's how it's done. The quote that comes to mind is a quote from Peter Tosh, where he says, the vampires don't have to bite your neck. Blood can spill 1,000 miles away and they still get their meals. And that's essentially what the drug prohibition and weapons sales is all about, is that the vampires are real, but they don't actually have to suck your blood from your neck. As long as, people are bleeding somewhere, they're making their money. And they're living forever in that they're living with enough money to keep themselves drunk or sedated enough to fool themselves into thinking they're living forever.
Wow, heavy stuff.
Yeah.
I want to play one of these videos here. Now, this is a video about the most recent series of revelations. This is just from a few days ago. Russia TV, RT, Russia Television, they always seem to cover it from a little bit more objective angle, you might say.
Yeah, well, they don't have the same corporate sort of filter that American companies have to go through.
Yeah.
They have different interests. I think one of their interests is hurrying up the collapse of the American empire so that something better rises in its place. I think RT, Russian TV, is kind of helping that process along.
Hell yeah. Well, now, it is run by the Russian government, though, isn't it? So, I mean, I would take things with a certain grain of salt.
The enemy of your enemy is your friend.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
I still like their content.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's check this one out, Marius, and throw that down, and we'll make sure that it works and everything. We'll see you on the other side.
And
In the
we're just
meantime,
learning that agents of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration and Justice Department officials have met in secret with members of a Mexican drug cartel, all in exchange for information on rival drug organizations. This is all according to a new investigative piece reported by Mexico's El Universal News. According to the report, U.S. agents held more than 50 secret meetings with cartel operatives in Mexico for over a decade between 2000 and 2012, and they did so without informing Mexican authorities. The article says, without the presence of Mexican authorities, as bilateral agreements stipulate, without informing the Mexican government, the agents of the DEA met with members of the cartels to obtain information about their rivals and establish at the same time a network of informants of narco traffickers who signed cooperation agreements. El Universal based its reports on extensive interviews as well as official American and Mexican court documents. According to those documents, the U.S. specifically had an arrangement with Mexico's Sinaloa drug cartel that allowed the organization to smuggle billions of dollars of drugs, while Sinaloa provided information on rival gangs. Conservative estimates of the cartel's annual revenue is about $3 billion. And according to the head of the DEA's office in Chicago, quoted before this investigation, the Sinaloa drug cartel is responsible for supplying 70 to 80% of the drugs entering the Chicago area and has a presence in cities across the U.S. To discuss this undercover deal, I was joined earlier by Andrew Kennis, an investigative journalist based in Mexico City. I first asked him about these cooperation agreements and what these drug lords were promised in exchange for information about cartel rivals.
Well, first of all, there's a contention in terms of which drug lords had which immunity agreement. What we know for sure is that the leading lawyer for the Sinaloa cartel, Humberto Loya, as he's nicknamed Castro, had over 6 years worth of agreements with the DEA. These are called confidential source agreements. And there's no doubt these are documents that were released by the prosecution. And there's no contention on either side that this was and continues to be the case. In fact, even Jack Riley, the head of the Chicago DEA, spoke to me exclusively several times about this, and there's no contention there. Now, where the contention lies is to what extent immunity agreements like these apply to other cartel leaders, and this is where the defense and the prosecution differ. What Vincentillo, as he's nicknamed, you could loosely translate it as Pretty Boy, contends is that these agreements apply to him and other leaders, and that in exchange for intel on other groups such as Los Zetas, he had the same kind of protection that was afforded to their lawyer. The prosecution denies this. And he kind of spiced up the case, in fact, a little further, and actually also said that not just it was intel that was being exchanged, but that even there was fast and furious weapons as well.
Right, and I want to get to that, but before we do,
sure.
In giving the DEA information on rival gangs, was the Sinaloa cartel essentially getting the U.S. agency to do its dirty work?
Well, sure. I mean, in fact, even officials admit that this is literally dirty work, that having deals like these with leaders like these is dirty work, and security experts go even farther and say that arranging deals like these to strengthen one cartel over others so that there's less of a contention and disputed plazas and then therefore less violence is indeed a legitimate security strategy, and it's one that has to be done in a war that's pretty much hard, if not impossible, to win. And so this is their logic for doing these kind of things, and that's kind kind of the logic behind getting intel on a cartel that's been known to be much more despised by both the Mexican and U.S. governments, that is Los Zetas. They brag and routinely in narco mantras that they're the only cartel that doesn't have any agreements with the governments. They are known for the most heinous and violent acts. By contrast,
and I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about that specifically. You know, during the height of this relationship, which was between 2006 and 2012, coincidentally, there was a marked surge of violence in Mexico. Not to mention that the Sinaloa Cartel saw a steady rise in power during those years. So, do we know if this, you know, could be attributed to the Sinaloa's cartel or the Sinaloa Cartel's, you know, tit for tat with the DEA?
I would picture that. I would paint the picture a little differently. In fact, during the height of the drug war, it became the case that again, the governments were feeling possibly desperate enough to enter into agreements like these again, so as to strengthen one cartel over the others and have, in theory at least, the violence be reduced, so that there would be more firm control over plazas and less street wars and turf wars and violence and so on and so forth. It's pretty well known that both in the key plazas on the border at Ciudad Juarez and also at Tijuana, there was some pretty precipitous drops in violence after the peaks when the Sinaloa Cartel was pretty much roundly and mostly largely agreed to as having won the turf war. And so this is a strategy that's possibly linked to that, I would say.
And one of the things that Zambada Niebla alleged, this is the man who was on trial in Chicago for all of this. Is on trial, still currently on trial, thanks for that correction, was that the highly controversial Fast and Furious operation was all part of an agreement to finance and arm the cartel in exchange for information. So if that is indeed true, does this call into question what Attorney General Eric Holder knew about these agreements?
It goes even farther than that because, you know, Eric Holder has even has been prosecuted and investigated for possible perjury about what he knew or not, and that's been covered widely in the mainstream news media. And so also, what's been covered widely in the mainstream news media is that supposedly these Fast and Furious weapons were lost, and that this was a mistake in the case. What hasn't really been covered that much is investigative work I've done, even though there's sworn congressional testimony on this, by, for instance, one ATF attaché who was based in Mexico City. His name was Carlos Canino, who described the fact that at one point, at the height of the Fast and Furious program, when there was over 1,000 weapons going across the border, 100% of those weapons, including ones that could be fielded to arm a small Marine battalion, it was even said, were going to, guess what, the Sinaloa Cartel. And that's literally what the defense team for Vicente Zambada contends, was that this was part of his agreement, and this is additional evidence to show that he in fact did have an arrangement with the DEA.
And Andrew, we only have a few seconds left, but you know, we know that U.S.-Mexican relations have been strained over the years and the approach to the war on drugs. What's your sense as to how Mexico might respond to these revelations?
Well, I mean, you know what? The revelations have been out for quite a long time, and the Mexican government has pretty much played dumb. They said that in fact, they've even expressed some concern or even some, you know, anger that they weren't really put in the know. And since the revelations have been out, the confidential source agreement, for instance, which is no longer confidential between the leading lawyer in the Sinaloa Cartel and the DEA, has been out there for almost 2 years now. Ever since that time, that's been the case. The Mexican government, there hasn't been any documents or proof to show that the Mexican government did indeed know. So it is possible that they were left in the dark on this one. That doesn't put the Mexican government in the clear about other aspects of the drug war, but when it comes to the Fast and Furious operation, and especially the arrangement they had possibly with Vicente Zambada, the contended arrangement, it doesn't look like they knew.
It's an incredible story indeed. We'll have to follow up with you on this in the future. Investigative reporter Andrew Kenneth, thank you.
Okay, we should be back now.
Would you help me
Looks good.
show
All right.
this?
So, yeah, that's Russia TV and their coverage. So, now, I actually have another clip from CNN here. And
okay.
We'll eventually, we can show this off first if you want to.
Yeah, I was thinking I was going to kind of show the progress on the comic. These are the latest pages. As you can see, I haven't done the lettering for some of the word balloons.
Explain to people what this is.
This is Amsterdam comic.
And you got to hold it up a bit.
This is Dana Larson is doing a comic called The History of Cannabis in Canada, I believe, or something along those lines.
Yes.
And this is kind of more the history of cannabis in Vancouver, including an illustrated form of my Supreme Court speech and the origins of everybody's superhero secret origins, how they became potheads, how they became affiliated with the pop block and the activities here. And we're going to be doing kind of all the greatest hits of the pot block, all the raids, all the times we pulled shenanigans, like that time Mark Emery rented a table at the Speaking of the Drug Czar, and other activities. John Walters, that's right. The times how we invented the cannabis farmers market and how it got to be as big as it did. All these sorts of little pranks and stunts and things we've been doing to make the Vancouver as special as it is today.
I just wanted to say quickly about the Vancouver Farmers Market.
Yes.
We just had our first meeting with the city, our
Right.
first meeting ever with the city of Vancouver about the 420 event that we actually put on here in the city, that David has been one of the organizers of for years and years and years. And we actually had to meet with 7, I think, city officials. Maybe, I can't remember if that was as many there was. Maybe there was more. And one of them was from the VPD. Actually, several of them were from the Vancouver Police Department. And Sergeant Rice was one of them, Sergeant Jeff Rice. And he was there on the ground with me the last couple of years, because I get there at like 5 in the morning and then helping everybody get all set up and stuff. And so he wanted to know how the farmers market started.
Greg told me about it.
Yeah, he
Oh, wow.
asked that question to us, and I explained to him that it was just a spontaneous kind of thing that's been happening organically for a few years, and that it started with one guy with a sign. And
What, you didn't tell him that somebody came up to us and we sold like tickets to be able to do that?
didn't tell him that.
Did you tell him a blue bolt of lightning came down from the sky and hit all the pot activists simultaneously in the forehead?
Put 100 pot booths on the grounds
They
of the
said-
Vancouver Art Gallery.
If-
left magic markers and cardboard there, and just people said,
If you pack it, they will come.
Well, and literally, I mean, how many years has it been, David? It's been not that many that it's gone from nothing, no booths at all, to 150 we had minimum at Cannabis Day, 150.
Well, as the legend goes, the first 420 was in Victory Square,
Yes.
and it was organized by Mark's employees, who were all deadheads and big fans of the 420 culture. It arose, that was 1994. In 97, it arose again spontaneously, I think this time in Grandview Park on Commercial Drive.
Yeah.
And then from 1998 or 1999 onwards, I believe it was 99 onwards, it was at the art gallery. And I was actually one of the first people and on Cannabis Day to start dealing out in the open. And then after I kind of set an example that you could get away with that and not get busted, it started first with raffles. And then it later evolved to people walking around with, joints $5. And then out came the tables, and then came the jars on the tables and the scales. And then now there's huge big bags of weed and brownies packed, like piled to the sky. And
double pop-up tents that
pe-
are hooked together.
people bring like $20,000 or $30,000 worth of their best drug collections, their herb collections.
Yep.
And it's gotten to be where it is genuinely like every other farmer's market, except this is just, the product of the cannabis plant and all the baked goods and suckers and ice cream and other cannabis infused things that come with it.
The sergeant referred to it as a cannabis farmers market. Yeah.
So we've got them using our terminology.
Yes, we do.
Whereas in other places, the cops force their terminology onto you in order to accept the shame.
Oh no, and that was what I got to make clear about this meeting. That
It's more of the cannabis Casbah.
They were being very, very nice to us the whole time. And even with a question like that, it wasn't intended to be confrontational, and it wasn't. He was curious, but I can tell that the police department is a little bit more curious than the other departments. The other departments are curious about keeping things safe, and that's really their only concern.
Yeah, their concern is about getting sued.
That's right.
That's
yeah.
what they're concerned.
They don't want the stage to collapse on somebody.
What year was it though when you were on stage? Because I remember that, and you actually called out to the audience to somebody you sold or bought marijuana on stage, up on the stage. You just openly defied the laws, and I am going to sell marijuana right here on. And I think you sold $5 worth of marijuana on the stage.
Well, I did more than that. I remember going up to the other side of the art gallery, on the Robson side, and having a rally about my court case, which was then just a local court case, not a Supreme Court case. And I sold pot out in the open with a little, Peanuts Lucy lemonade stand thing with the dealer is in sign on it. And I've done that a number of. I can't count the number of times I've dealt pot in public to remove stigma around dealing, after explaining how cannabis is literally safer than coffee beans for people to consume. So in the 90s especially, I did that throughout the 90s, either with a raffle or selling a joint here or there, or walking around with a bag of joints selling them, and making other dealers feel comfortable doing that. It's like freedom is the thing that's contagious and habit forming, is that when people see someone else being free, they're like, I want to get that high too. Because there's nothing, you don't never get higher than selling weed out in public and getting away with it. I remember the very first day I ever sold weed was October 19th, 1996.
Wow.
In Grandview Park.
Good memory.
The opening of the Harm Reduction Club. And we came out with about 200 joints, 250 joints. And some were $10 size joints and some were the $5 size joints. And there were 2 cops there and about 200 people. And the cops left before we finished selling all the joints. They literally said, this pot dealing in this park here next to the swings and the seesaw is not enough of a concern for us to stick around and make arrests.
Right.
So
not everybody should be doing this in their town if they can.
And I never
Pushing
felt
those
higher
boundaries.
than when I first became a pot dealer, because I realized it's the greatest job in the world. You're spreading joy and happiness to all the kids of Vancouver. It's wonderful. We did have strict rules in our club that you had to be over 13 and you had to promise not to drive while impaired.
Right.
You could drive while high. You just couldn't drive while impaired.
Right. There's a big difference there.
It's a huge difference, and people had to, be
Respect
notified of that difference.
So now we're getting off on a bit of a tangent here. I want to try and keep it back to the Mexico thing.
Right, Mexico.
Right, and so wait, the second video, Marius, is which? The CNN one. So you saw the RT one. Now I want to play. This one's a little bit shorter than the other one, but I want you guys to try and notice the difference in spin here. I mean, it'll be pretty obvious, but CNN is very apologetic. You can almost, it's weird when you watch CNN because you can almost like see the look on their faces that they're trying, they know they have to like try and make it seem like it's less than it is or something.
Right.
Like, sometimes you can read it in their eyes or something. And they're like,
don't make me read this.
No. And it's almost like maybe they want to say more, who knows, but.
Listen, I gotta run. But I will watch the show later on and watch the clips.
David, thank you so much for your input on the show today. It was fantastic. It was a really
for having me.
Informative little talk
I'll let you know
today.
The time and place of the secret Damiana party afterwards.
Oh, please do.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch.
Haha.
All right. Have a great show, guys.
And that wasn't a pun, was it?
Thanks, David. Here, David, before you go. Yes. Here, take this bud.
Do you want
have a bud?
Would you like a bong rip before you go, David?
Oh, no.
You sure?
I'm so high from just hanging around with you.
Oh, yes. You're not
a deliberate.
You're not a bong guy.
Break the rules. Not supposed to do it. I don't care. I know sometimes giving it away constitutes trafficking, so call me a trafficker on Pot TV.
public.
Trafficker.
I'm an internet trafficker now.
And I was a recipient of his trafficking.
This is internet trafficking.
His narco trafficking. And I assure you, this is real. This is not.
It's not stage marijuana. This is real marijuana.
This is not Hollywood marijuana. This is Amsterdam marijuana. And it is terpenous. Good job.
Terpenous.
That's island pot, dude.
Good job
That's island weed.
What's the name of the strain?
That's Blueberry Jam, third place winner in this year or last year's Prairie Medicinal Harvest Cup hybrid
I really need one of these,
hybrid category.
I'm gonna blueberry jam it into a joint and smoke it later.
Yeah, man, get that shit in you. It's good for you.
All right, back to the grinder.
There, David's
Thanks,
off.
David.
Back to the grinder. And I guess Mario is. You guys are doing the video. We're gonna do the video.
Yeah, we're gonna play the CNN.
Play that DEA video or
All
whatever
right.
you got going on
So
there.
yeah, throw down the CNN video. It should be ready to roll, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about Mexico.
A deal with drug cartel members in exchange for information. Tell us what we know.
Well, Aisha, as they say, the devil is in the details, and I've been looking at this case for a while now, and what I can tell you is that it all depends on who you can believe when you look at the information. Now, El Universal, the Universal, a very reputable newspaper in Mexico City, is mainly basing all of their information in this document. This is a deposition that was taken back in the year 2000 from, listen to this, Aisha, it is the attorney of a well-known Mexican drug lord. And the question there is, how much can we believe of that deposition? Yes, he did it under oath, but again, it is who it is that is raising a lot of questions. But in any case, this is what the attorney during deposition told the court. He said, Mr. Loya Castro, this is the attorney that I'm telling you about, stated that agents told him that in exchange for information about rival drug trafficking organizations, the United States government agreed to, listen to this, Aisha, dismiss the prosecution of the pending case against Mr. Loya Castro, the attorney, not to interfere with his drug trafficking activities and those of the Sinaloa Cartel, not to actively prosecute him and the leadership of the Sinaloa Cartel, and not to apprehend them. The agent stated that this arrangement had been approved by high-ranking officials and federal prosecutors. In other words, Aisha, this is a situation where the newspaper is claiming the attorney was giving the DEA information on rival drug cartels in exchange for a promise that the United States government was not going to prosecute them. As you can expect, we reached to the DEA. The DEA had no comment on this story. There's no official investigation going on in Mexico. And so right now what we have is court documents that El Universal is basing the reporting on, Aisha.
All right, so we haven't heard anything from U.S. officials, DEA officials. Were the Mexican authorities aware of this deal? What do we know?
Well, between the years 2006 and 2012, during the administration of former President Felipe Calderón, we know that there were agreements between the governments of Mexico and the United States. So U.S. agents would be able to operate more freely in Mexico, but there's no confirmation anywhere that the cartels, in this case specifically the Sinaloa Cartel, was part of any secret negotiation that we can confirm, Aisha.
Wow, stunning allegations. Rafael Romo joining us there. Rafael, always appreciate the insight and analysis. Thank you. Now, man accused of opening...
Finish talking about this, and then we'll move into that if you like,
right.
and then you can do whatever you want.
How'd we do? Did we actually made it back okay? We're not frozen or anything? We're there. So fresh and so clean. Right, so we're going to continue on with a little bit more of this Mexico thing. But I wanted to talk, Mick, about your Toronto trip.
Yes, man. I am moving to
there's
Toronto.
Melly. That's just about a good camera angle there. Just got to lean a little more forward.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of that Mel saying I'm not allowed to move, but no, it's true. I am. It's official. I'm moving.
Yep.
Moving after 35 years. I'm moving to Toronto, and
you've been here in British Columbia on Vancouver Island for 35 years, but you're originally from Ontario.
I'm born and raised in Toronto.
Yeah.
And
Me too, but that doesn't mean I'm never gonna go back.
well, no, see, I came out when I was like you, Mel, young, and you know, and having a good. No, I know.
Go for it.
Having a good time, and there's, you know, I think it's time to make the move. We're expanding our cloud of smoke here at Pot TV.
Yep.
And we'll be having Pot TV Toronto.
Yeah, so Mick's going to be doing working out there on Pot TV Toronto stuff. And as well, I was just talking with Matt. Like, I realized that we haven't been simulcasting... simulcasting the Marijuana Zone on Pot TV, and I would at the very least like to have that on Pot TV. We haven't taken back the comedy shows on the 24-hour stream. They're just keeping them on the Vapor Central stream, just because of issues in the past and stuff. I was totally open to whatever they want to do. It's totally up to them. They can do whatever they want to do.
Well, you know, I'm looking forward to working with like all the activists and,
there's a lot
people
of
in
activists out
Toronto. I mean, and in Ontario, there's like so many people and so much going on.
Yeah. And tell people about some of your ideas, like about the lounge hop show and things like that.
If some of the people or different lounge owners are into it, I'd like to take my show, roll that up into a different lounge each week, and see if we can bring you from a different location, a weekly show. So we're
or any kind of pot-related spots.
We'll have to sort of get into. We'll have to talk to the different people when we get there about that. Different, you know, the owners or managers of the various lounges that are there in Toronto, and you know, or other sort of events. Perhaps even we could set up a booth or something, perhaps at 420 in Dundas Square this year, and Pot TV booth and broadcast live from something like that. Be nice. Well, you know, I mean, it's there's other people there. I mean, like I say, Vapor Central, Chris Goodwin, and that they've got a good gig going on there and set up. And
definitely.
Like I say, so hopefully we can all work together and bring some quality content out of the Greater Toronto area. We'll see what's going on. I'm looking forward to, like I say, looking forward to working with the people there. There's a lot of stuff. I know Matt's got his mayoral candidacy, and I'm sure he needs help there. You can always use...
man, Matt is so busy out there. He's got so much going on these days.
Lots to do.
The cannabis champion of the universe.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also a possibility of a jumping off point from there to other... I have some other ideas and places I'd like to go and give the Opus touch, and maybe perhaps bring that to the Pot TV so you people can sort of catch some of the pot-related things I do other than just growing. We did say we retired from the grow room, and I have a lot of extra time on my hands now. So it's time to go out and do some of that other shit that you just think about when you're working under those lights with that steady bzzz, and you know you're kind of by yourself.
Now, how about outdoor grows? We have a question here in the chat from Boo Boo. Mick, how is your outdoor grow?
Outdoor grows. Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm retired from that. You know,
when was your last outdoor grow?
I did some outdoor last year. I put out some plants, but more just for very guerrilla growing, and a lot of that was filmed. I'm hoping to get together I need some new equipment, but I've got a lot of footage I'd like to try to put together and get that out soon on YouTube. And
you've already got a bunch of stuff filmed that you're just trying to...
Oh yeah, it just needs an editing and put together, maybe a little bit more filming, some commentary. I've even got video of me getting chased by a bear. Well, false charge by a bear, and
I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah, we have. Trying to show people all the various aspects of what it really takes to, grow a few plants. I'm not talking about putting in no, patch now anymore, because I think those days outdoor growing large patches of marijuana are finished.
Unless you live in northern British Columbia or something.
Well, even then, it doesn't really work. You're too far north. It's not going to finish. There's so many things, the variables that actually have in the right place to pull off a good crop and a good location with a longer season, the southern area. Too many people around. You need a water source. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
And
was it any good, your last one?
Well, there's been pictures up on my Facebook, and people were rocking some of the plants I grew last year. They look pretty good. I mean, I had some success, and that's all I wanted to show. The video is everything from, a lot of it is actually scouting location, digging holes, why they went where they were, and all of the plants I put in last year, I didn't visit them not once Well, a couple I went back, just 2 of them I went back out of curiosity and had a look from afar, but that was it. I didn't go back and give them any attention whatsoever throughout the year. And I just went out to harvest, and it was like you show up and you don't know what you're going to find or if there's even going to be plants there. And when you walk over that little tree, and you could see where they are, and there it is. And it's a beautiful, gorgeous plant with big buds on it. It's like, yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
But I was, digging holes down to the water source, to the water table, and I was near ponds and swamp areas. So you only dig down a couple of feet, and you're in water. Fill that hole with your dirt, your mix, and after you put your plants in, just leave. So I was fortunate, and it all worked out. Hopefully we'll get that up. I got a lot of little projects, ideas on top of that. Different.
It'll be Pot TV BC content coming from Pot TV Toronto.
Well, that's just more of a YouTube video thing. That's more of a DVD I'm trying to put together. But I'd like to offer that up free, really.
You should just make a really kick-ass video.
I'd like to see that up on put something together and then put it up on YouTube and on the Cannabis Culture Pot TV network.
Hell yeah, man, for sure.
YouTube channel, and let people go and just be able to watch that for free. And then maybe if there's enough people interested, if there's enough hits, offer it in a DVD format for sale.
Yeah, I don't know about DVDs anymore. Nobody has DVDs anymore.
Well, that's what I mean.
They're all becoming coasters.
That's why I was saying I would just
DVDs.
offer it for free, really. I mean,
I just got Space Jam on DVD not too long ago. Why? Because Space Jam is fucking amazing.
I still have a VCR. I like my VCR. Yeah. It's not hooked up though.
I have one at home, but it's on my garage sale. It's actually almost brand new.
Oh yeah. They don't get much use anymore.
No, I'm not packing it around. It's all that stuff. I'm just not dragging that stuff across the country. I'm not, brand new VCR. No, not even dragging that across the country. I don't care if it's brand new.
Not worth it. Okay, so let's see here now. I'm all stuffed up.
I still have one.
We do have. We have another video about the Mexico situation here I want to play. Now, this one is from Democracy Now! And this was actually a really great video. Hold on a second here. I just want to get my mail up on screen here. I want to see the order of the videos that I've sent to Marius, just to make sure we're playing them. No, there's just the one from Democracy Now! But how many other ones do I have here? Oh, yeah. No, we don't. The traffic one we're not going to do, Marius. I'll just talk about that a little bit. There was a video that was put together by, I believe it was the New York Times, actually. It was an odd video about the traffic movie being based on real life, and it kind of goes into some of that. I was going to play that video. We're not going to play this. We're not going to play that one. I'll just maybe post the link in the show notes, and then we'll throw it in the chat. You guys can check that out. But yeah, this one is another Mexico one. Annabelle Hernandez. That's the name of the woman who's on Democracy Now! She has a crazy story about being there, and she's a journalist who was covering the issue of the cartels and their association with the government down there. And she had to flee the country. This video is great. It's from, I can't remember the date of when this is from, but let's give it a try here. This is Democracy Now! Democracy Now! Is one of the best shows on the internet. If you like internet TV shows like The Young Turks and that kind of stuff, Democracy Now's got a bit more of a serious edge to it, but it's like some of the most hard-hitting news, some of the best progressive journalism in the United States of America. If you haven't been to democracynow.org, check that out. Can never say enough about Amy Goodman and Juan Gonzalez over there.
And I'm going to say goodbye because I'm going to be heading out. So, hey, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right. We'll talk soon.
All the best.
Best on your trip to Toronto, and we'll definitely be making all that work for everybody out there in Pot TV land.
Next time you see me, I'll be coming to you from somewhere else other than here.
Yeah, and the Monday show, you'll be coming back on your Monday show as soon as possible, right?
As soon as possible. I'm working on that. Once I get things, probably a couple weeks, I'm hoping. Maybe no more than a few weeks. We'll probably stay tuned. You'll watch the... You'll get posted up on Facebook, all the usual Facebook and Twitter and Pot TV and Cannabis Culture.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool, man. Excellent. Thanks, Mick. And so, Marius, go ahead and drop the Democracy Now! Video.
By Manu Chao. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
We end today's show with a woman who has been described as one of the most courageous journalists in Mexico. In 2010, Anabel Hernandez published a groundbreaking book linking top Mexican government officials to the world's most powerful drug cartels. She received so many death threats, the National Human Rights Commission assigned her 2 full-time bodyguards. Despite the threats, she continued to report. In 2012, she received the Golden Pen of Freedom Award from the World Association of Newspapers and News Publishers. Her own father was kidnapped and murdered 13 years ago.
Anabel Hernandez's 2010 book on the Mexican drug wars has just been translated into English. It's called Narcoland, The Mexican Drug Lords and Their Godfathers. She joins us here in New York before heading back to Mexico. It's an honor to have you with us, Anabel.
Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for your interest in what is happening in Mexico. That's important.
Explain what's happening. What's happening with the drug cartels, the connection to the government?
Well, first I have to explain that I have been investigating the drug cartels for 7 years. I mean, I have enough information to give my opinion about it. So what I found is that in Mexico doesn't exist really a war against the drug cartels. What exists in the government of Felipe Calderón was a war between the cartels, and the government took a side of that war, protecting to the Sinaloa Cartel. That's why all the violence and crime grow up in Mexico.
Well, what you describe is very similar to what happened in Colombia 2 decades ago, when the Colombian government more or less sided with the Cali cartel against the Medellin cartel. Could you talk about some of what you uncovered in terms of government officials directly or implicated in, at the same time that they were fighting the drug war, being involved with the cartels?
Well, what I found in official documents and by testimonies is that the Secretary of Public Security in Mexico, Genaro Garcia Luna, that was the most powerful chief of police in the government of Felipe Calderón, he was really involved with the drug cartel, with the Sinaloa Cartel. He was in the payroll as the most important chief of the police, of the federal police. So these guys not just protect to the Sinaloa Cartel, they also help them to traffic drugs and money in the most important airports in Mexico.
You name a number of prominent government officials. Talk about who they are.
Well, I'm talking about the Genaro Garcia Luna. I'm also put the names of other presidents. Before Felipe Calderón. What I found is since the decades of 60s until the last day of the government of Ernesto Zedillo, who was the last president that became from the party PRI, all that governments used to protect all the cartels. I mean, the drug cartels in Mexico, as you know, is not new. It's a very old story. That governments make them very powerful.
So what does it mean when the U.S. government gives millions to the Mexican government? You say the Mexican for the war on drugs, and you say the Mexican government is not fighting against the drugs, but as part of the drug cartels and supporting them.
What I discovered in my investigation is that much of that money, much of that technology, much of that equipment now is in the hands of the drug cartels.
Well, but the amazing story is here you have Felipe Calderón launching this war that has led to 80,000 deaths in Mexico, and yet you're saying that his main federal police chief was involved with one of the cartels. What's been the reaction in Mexico among justice officials or authorities to some of your revelations?
Well, when I published this book, I really was able to put many of the proofs in the book when it was published in Spanish, because I, of course, thought that it maybe could be very difficult to the people understand and believe what is really happening. So when I published it, the government didn't say anything. They just keep quiet and and still protecting to the Sinaloa Cartel. But now I think the society in Mexico really knows that bloody war, it was just a shame. It was fake. It wasn't true. The federal government didn't want to fight against the drug cartels. The federal government chose to fight against some cartels, enemies of the Sinaloa Cartel, and protect the Sinaloa Cartel.
You know, I shake as you speak, Anabel Hernandez, because Mexico is one of the dangerous countries for journalists to work in, especially Mexican journalists. I want to talk about your safety, but first, your father was a journalist. Can you talk about what happened to him?
Well, my father, that represents everything for me, was kidnapped and murdered on December of 2000. He was a businessman. He was not a journalist. He was just a businessman. In that year, many businessmen were kidnapped for a little gangs just for money. And he was murdered when we claimed for the police for justice to the police. The chief of the police said that, well, if you want justice, if you want that we investigate, you have to pay. Of course, we choose not pay. My family choose not pay because you can buy the justice. So until now, I don't know who killed my father. And I learned that corruption hurts.
And he was killed in Mexico City.
Yes, he was kidnapped in Mexico City, and his body was found in the Mexico State. It's a very near place to Mexico City.
What about you? You travel with 2 bodyguards?
Well, yes. Since I published this book on December of 2010, I received threats of death, not from the head of the Sinaloa Cartel, of the other cartels. The threats that I received came from the chief of the police, Genaro Garcia Luna. So
How do you know that?
Because I have an informant that called me suddenly in that December of 2010. He called me, it's really urgent to see you. I met him, and he told me I'm coming from a meeting of police. And that police were talking about that Genaro Garcia Luna are trying to contract some police to kill you, simulating a car accident or something like that. And he's offering better salaries and better positions in the police if they do it. So that information really saved my life, and I put a demand against Genaro Garcia Luna and the National Commission of Human Rights ordered to put me to these bodyguards.
I wanted to ask you about this issue of how widespread the violence is in Mexico. About a year ago, we had Jorge Castañeda on the show, former foreign minister under Vicente Fox, and we asked him about the drug war and he said that while it was tragic and it was a mistake of the Calderón administration, he believed it was largely a regional situation. He said Juarez is not Mexico, that most of Mexico, Mexico City and other places, people don't have the same kind of fears that they do in the areas in the north, like Juarez and Tijuana. I'd like your reaction to that and your sense of how widespread the problems have been in Mexico as a result of this disastrous, as you say, fake war.
I mean, Jorge Castañeda is just one politic in Mexico, and politics sometimes don't say the truth. The truth is that now in Mexico, there are many spaces under the control of the drug cartels and also under the control of medium gangs that kidnap people, that extortion people. And now Mexico is a very dangerous place. It's sadly to say it because I am Mexican, but I'm a journalist. I have the duty to say the truth. That in Mexico, there are many places worse than Ciudad Juarez.
What is the role of the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, the U.S. agency in Mexico?
Well, I really now investigating that because I really cannot believe how the U.S. government of the Drug Enforcement Administration really didn't saw what is happening in Mexico. And I found one document in 2011 in one court of Chicago that really proves that the Drug Enforcement Administration has a connection with the Sinaloa Cartel.
Can you tell us who Joaquin Guzman, leader of the Sinaloa Cartel, is?
Well, what I found in my investigation is that he was just the son of one farmer. He is an illiterate. He almost cannot read and write. He is a vicious man. He is alcoholic. He consumes drugs. I mean, he's nobody. He had to leave the school when he was 7 years old. What is about my book is how this man, that is almost nobody, now is the most powerful drug lord in the world. That is the answer that you can find in my book.
And he remains at large. He remains free somewhere in Mexico still.
Yes, he is. Of course, he's in Mexico, and I'm also sure that he's everywhere because he has the power to buy the state. He has the power to break the laws with his money, so he can be.
You
whatever.
say he was escorted through the prison, dressed as a government official, accompanied by conspiring government officers, out to a helicopter and whisked away to freedom.
Yes, what I found in the criminal case of the escape of El Chapo Guzman is that he didn't escape as the official version in the laundry car with the help of one man. He really escaped by the help of the federal government, and they put them he used a uniform of police and took in an helicopter.
Annabelle, what needs to be done? And what makes you so brave?
Sorry,
what needs to be done, and what makes you so brave?
I really think that the governments, not just the Mexican government, really have to start fight against the drug cartels. I mean, the way to start to fight against the drug cartels is put all that officials in jail, put the businessmen that help to the drug cartels in jail, put to the directors of the banks that launder their money in jail. And then you can make a huge campaign against consume of drugs. And if you cut the market, you really can cut the business.
Would legalizing drugs or decriminalize them help?
I'm not sure if Mexico, for example, is really ready for that. We can see options. And about the second question is because, as I said, corruption hurts. The biggest problem in Mexico is the corruption. The corruption is the mother of El Chapo Guzman and the mother of all of the other cartels.
I want to thank you so much for your work, for your bravery. Have a safe journey home. Annabelle Hernandez. Her book is called Narcoland.
Have a good one, brother. Not frozen? Nice. Okay, that's good. We're not frozen, apparently.
Well, that's always a plus.
Yeah, so Mick is out the door. He says goodbye, Pot TV. And so now I'm sitting here with Stoner Advisory, and she's brought a friend with her today. And maybe you can introduce yourself. And you should talk to the microphone, too, because it's better in the hand than on the stand.
It's kind of intimidating. Okay.
Oh, it's just Pot TV.
It's just a bunch of potheads. No one really cares.
Who are you, my dear? And you have something cool on your hat there, Kush Common.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about that. But first, tell people who you are.
Well, my name's Liz. A lot of people know me from Busy Izzy. Instagram, follow me if you feel like it. Kush Common is my company. We are basically a brand new social network for everybody that loves cannabis. You join it, you know you're going to have something in common with every single member on there. And it's just a way, it's like a hub for all of us to talk and create ideas.
So the concept is kind of like a Facebook for stoners.
Yes.
And, you know, I've seen there have been a couple of these that popped up before, and I didn't really ever sign up for it. I think Steve Cubby had one or somebody had one, but I never really saw where they went. But this one looked, when I went and looked at your website, it looked really cool. It looked a lot like the Facebook website you guys have modeled, but it had like a cool picture with these little pot leaves and stuff all around.
Yeah,
So,
little,
it's pretty well designed. It looked pretty cool.
Our logo, our team built that. We kind of through that whole design together, the one main guy behind the company is just a computer and web genius. Like, he built the whole company, redesigned it, like made it our own, and he's just a whiz at everything computers.
And so it looked pretty slick. So when people go there, it's kind of the same concept as a Facebook thing? It functions the same kind of way? Yeah, but it's just people dedicated to that sort of pot area, right?
And it doesn't have to be, your page doesn't have to be related to cannabis, but I know so many people, like I myself, try to keep cannabis off my page because a lot of my family members and they're connected. Like, they don't particularly and it's respect, right? So this is a place where you don't have to do that. You don't necessarily have to boast about all your smoking and the weed you're smoking today,
but if you work at a place with a bunch of straight people, they're not going to be tuning in, and if they do tune in, then they're going to be cool with it.
They're creeping on Facebook, but they don't know about Kush Common.
Exactly. Well, and actually, it's funny because I do have a lot of friends that would love to be able to out themselves on Facebook and really talk and show themselves smoking and do all that stuff, but they just can't because
they don't have the ability to.
Because they would lose their job, or they would actually suffer some retribution for that.
Absolutely.
So it's really unfortunate. Yeah, but it's cool to see these ones. Definitely, if people want to sign up, what's the address? Drop that address again.
Kushcommon.com.
Kushcommon.com.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, so you guys should check that out. I'll make sure to link to it in the chat. I think I did link to it in the chat, actually. Yeah, so that's cool. So Kushcommon.com. Now, how long ago did you guys start this?
It's been an idea for a long time, and I kind of got brought into it. I got approached by the wife of the creator, and it was just like, do you want to join our team? We've been following you for a bit. We know like what you're about, and we kind of want you on our team. So it's been an idea for a long time, but it's been like up and running for a few months, I think, 3 or 4 months.
And would you like a bong rip?
Absolutely, I would love a bong rip.
Now, would you like a bong rip out of Duchess, which she's a little dirty right now. I should definitely wash her up. But we also have the Redbeard piece, Lovecraft.
I was going to say, that one's gorgeous.
This one is
I love the
clean and beautiful and made by my good friend Patrick Redbeard, the man himself. He,
Can I come back to that?
Redbeard has his own show on Pot TV now. Going to be in the building. I don't know.
Horn is out of control.
Isn't that a crazy horn?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a nutty piece. He made this personally for me.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, and it's just such a wicked thing. He made it for the show, and
that's awesome, dude.
It's
gorgeous.
This crazy horn. It has these layers. Now, it's really hard to show this off on TV.
No, definitely. It doesn't,
you can't see
until you see it in person.
It doesn't do it justice.
Absolutely.
When you see it moving and turning and you can see the sort of layering effect, it has a dimension to it, a parallax that is ever so slight, but it's there. And
cool.
It's pretty awesome. It has a cool effect. I called it Lovecraft because I think it looks like a beautiful monster. So, yeah.
It's pretty excellent. I think I might have to go for a bong rip out of that guy.
Lovecraft. Here, let me... Yeah.
Always.
And I think this is the Burmese we're smoking right here.
I got a brand new pendant from my boy Sap Glass.
Oh, nice.
Texas.
Amazing pendant.
Mad
from who?
Bottle. Sap Glass from Texas, San Antonio
you should show
Pearl.
it off to the cam if you can. That's a really beautiful piece.
It is. Oh, you're just gonna get mad booed though.
Oh, perfect. Nothing wrong with that.
I think it's sick. I love it.
Wow, that is cool.
Right?
Very
Powder
cute.
implosion is just out of control.
Wow. Very
Super dope
nice.
artist. Who's actually going to
excellent.
be at Age? Anybody who's actually going to Age? I'm jealous. I'm very jealous of anyone going to Age.
And where's Age? Tell people about Age.
Age is in Vegas, and it's the American Glass Expo, and it's just like the massive glass gathering.
It's a big one.
Oh, I wish I was going.
And it's not. It's about everything. It's not just for isn't it?
Yeah, it's not just function glass. It's like everything. Any type of glass that can be showcased is showcased at Age.
It's funny. There's been an evolution, and I think it's been happening a lot over the past few years. Oh yeah, Marius is grabbing one over here. Oh, you got one? Okay, good. Oh, we got two now, but that's okay.
Keep
that one. Thanks, Marius.
We have all the lighters.
Yeah.
It's good. We're covered.
No, there definitely has been. I've been watching it at least since I've been in cannabis culture, and I mean maybe it's been going back further than I know, but lately in the past few years, there's been this outreach between those two communities, where the glass art community and the functional glass communities have sort of got together.
I think that's where we've gotten a lot of our functional glass art pieces.
Yeah.
In the last few years, it's bumped. Like when I first started smoking, there was not rigs or bombs like there are now.
No.
Like this, like there could have been something close to it, but nothing was.
Right.
It's
well,
true
and I mean,
artwork.
There's definitely the Redbeards, but even what I mean is that so like Marco Renda, for instance, at the last Treating Yourself Expo, he had a thing called Not Just Marbles, and there was display case after display case of marbles. So not pot related at all, not functional in any way, but Marco Renda was really pushing these marbles, and everybody, all the marble community and the people, the glass art community that have nothing to do with the bong making community, were all there and taking part in the marijuana side of things and seeing how it all works and seeing the bongs and getting interested in that side of it as well. And even some of the glass blowers, even a few years ago, had started, I just know in talking to some of them from the U.S. and stuff, reaching out to the glass art communities down there and getting their pieces shown off in galleries that wouldn't necessarily allow those kinds of things before and stuff. So, yeah, and then sometimes they don't even mention that it's a functional piece when they hang it in the gallery, you know, like a beautiful design of like an African sort of woman's body or something. It's a fully functional pipe, but it's hanging on the wall being displayed as just a glass art piece. So, yeah, it's really cool.
Sneaky.
Yeah. So now you also, besides the Kush Common thing, you're a pot person who you've been doing stuff for a while. And what's the company you were talking about, the other stuff you guys are doing?
Well, we have Cannacorp, cannacorp.org. We basically are a cannabis design company. If you need a website built, logos done, stickers made, promo done, for this emerging cannabis industry, we want to help design all the up-and-comers, like whatever they need to be designed, and like so they can just showcase their stuff.
Yeah.
And we can do it for you. One-stop shop, basically.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like bringing people on that are businesses from the cannabis community that are doing stuff that help other businesses in the cannabis community.
Oh, totally.
So, you know, it's one of those things where people need good quality web design related to pot, and you can't always necessarily go to a regular web design place for something like that.
Exactly.
And we've dealt with stuff like that in the past with, you know, struggling to find good web design people for whatever reason, right? But yeah, you gotta definitely, it's cool when you find the right team and you click with them.
My team it's out of control. Like the vibe, majority of them are in the States, and they're all like trying to get to Colorado to like the home base. But it's such a good vibe of people, and every single person that is like will be working on, say, like your company's project is so devoted to it and so all about Canada. And we're not even about like...
And people, because it's pot related directly, they know about what's going on in the cannabis industry kind of thing, right? Like I would imagine, I'm assuming.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I just like the concept of bringing our pot concept to every industry out there, and because you know, this is not just in web design, but whatever is out there, there's so many ideas that we can use, like pot is related to, and there's tons and tons of opportunity. Like this is just going to be a massive industry when we're finally all legalized, and it's just coming out, it's bursting at the seams in every way possible right now. Yeah, and all these expos and shit, right?
Exactly.
Like there's tons of different stuff. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say the people that like create the products or have like build these companies don't necessarily know how to market their stuff or how to like build a website where their clients and their customers can like easily find what they need.
Right. They might know something about the pot industry in one area, but might not know.
But they don't know everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
To like round off their company as a whole, so they can.
Right. Well, and that's a struggle we've had with going to different companies in general, whatever they are, not just web design, but if they don't know, if we're trying to get professional help from them and they don't know the pot industry, there's this learning curve. It takes time for them to figure out what we are actually all about and stuff. But yeah, no, I think that man, I'm so excited about the future of our industry because there's just so many things going on.
Oh,
and so, but you were telling me about some other thing that you guys were doing too. You have some other venture that you're working on? You just quickly mentioned it. I didn't hear the whole thing.
Oh, the marijuana models.
Oh, the models. Yeah,
yeah. TheMarijuanaModels.com. It's basically, it started out as like a website and then like an Instagram, and like people just started following, and then it caught fire because it was just gorgeous looking, like gorgeous females that aren't necessarily half naked sitting beside a bong. They're still sexy as hell, and like, but just not that provocative in that way.
Doesn't have to be all about the flesh.
Exactly, you know what I mean? And like, yeah, there's some that do like that, but you know, we represent every type of girl, every.
And so these girls are available for people to.
Right now, it's still in like phase one. We're really it's basically still just a website at the moment.
Right. And you said there's guys too. It's not just ladies.
We're starting the guys thing. Like we've had a couple guys be like, yo, like where can I put in my pictures to be like? Because I was model of the month for July. And so we did like a model of the month for all of 2013.
Nice.
And so we're hoping this year to put a calendar together for those girls for maybe like 2015 calendar or something, but who knows.
And what was but you were mentioning something about the business concept of it. This is something where people could use models, services like at an expo, say, or if they wanted.
Yeah, so if they needed like a couple promo reps or something, if they wanted an event, and if you didn't necessarily have maybe a tent or something, you could hire a couple girls to rep your gear and just like walk around handing out promo stickers and stuff like that. And
marijuana girls, man, it's a really common thing when I go to the expos and stuff. I see, and I mean, when we go to expos and stuff, it's hard to find people that are, again, when you're in another place, like it's crazy. Where are you guys located? You're here in Vancouver?
No, I'm the only one that's here in Vancouver. Our base is in Colorado.
Oh, in Colorado?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Oh, awesome.
So they're hitting heavy in Colorado right now.
So that's where the biz is.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, and I've been paying attention to what's going on down there, and it's just crazy.
It's out of control.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Nuts.
Well, it's exciting there. So I guess that's where the real heart
movement,
of it is.
So
now
that the states have started, it's gonna hopefully just like
it's just gonna and it already has, as you said. Like those 2 states going has caused a big collapse.
So much.
I have videos I want to play on the show. We have New Hampshire moving forward. We have
I heard about
Maryland moving forward, and I have a video. New York is moving forward on medical marijuana, so that's good. I'm not sure actually about the New Hampshire one though, because I think the governor says she's going to veto it.
Oh.
She's kind of not a nice person.
Good save. Good save.
Yeah. No, I don't want to be too cruel, but yeah, she's not very friendly, you might say.
She's not a pleasant individual.
No. Well, that's awesome. I appreciate you coming on. It's cool.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and definitely check out kushcommon.com.
Yeah, kushcommon.com,
yeah. And
cannacorp.org, and themarijuanamodels.com.
Nice. And but the services are available, I assume, not just in Colorado for the majority of the stuff, right?
Like anywhere.
Yeah. Cool.
Just email us. We'll work something out.
Awesome.
We love building custom packages for companies.
You want a bong rip there, Megan?
Sure.
Cool. Yeah, and I'll give you both another bong rip here. Do you want to you want to hit Duchess?
I haven't hit it yet.
Okay, we'll get you hitting Duchess too.
When in Rome.
That's right. And then Marius will have to come for a bong rip afterwards.
I don't know. Do you guys dab at all?
Oh hell yeah!
I brought some green crack dabs.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm totally down for some dabs.
There we go.
Okay, and I'm gonna bust up a little more of this.
That's awesome.
So do you ever travel to Colorado to check them out?
I haven't been to Colorado yet. No, I do like to go to Seattle.
Oh yeah, Seattle's getting crazy now too. We go to Seattle Hempfest every year.
We go in Seattle. Woo woo. My boys down there.
Yeah, and we've been going to the Seattle Hempfest for a few years and seeing the progression
I went last year.
Did you?
Really good time. It was
pretty
amazing.
kick-ass.
Oh, it's so.
Day
it was
3
cool
was
because I
nuts
took
there.
the ferry from Victoria, and so you actually like get to see the whole Hempfest as you're coming in and as the ferry's like pulling in. It was so cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
And I was sitting on the ferry and I met
this
these art gallery owners from Nanaimo, and they were just like the coolest old guys ever. And
really?
They were like, I was like talking to them about Hempfest. And they're like, oh, that's super cool. We might check it out. Like maybe we'll go find some cool art. And I was like, I wonder where it actually is. And I was like, that is like 85 tents along a shoreline. I'm pretty sure that's Hempfest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Myrtle Edwards,
awesome.
There's this park, and it spans, well, not just Myrtle Edwards, but there's several parks, and it spans all of them, essentially. There's like 4 of them or something connected.
And
and
then it goes to like, it turns into the piers in downtown Seattle.
And Duchess for you.
Oh, thank you. Is there somewhere to hold
There is another lighter. Marius, can I get you to dig back through that sack you had over there? Throw me that lighter. There's one. Synchronized bong rips. Yeah, red beards. And it has this smooth sort of feeling to it, too. I don't know. It just feels so nice. It's a heavy piece, though, too. There's a lot in there. Yeah. Nice. So, yeah, I do have some other videos there, Marius. What's the list say? I don't have it in front of me again. I don't know why. Oh, here it is. So, right, I wanted, before we get too much further, to, just since we were playing videos about the DEA stuff, I wanted to bring up another point about the DEA that's just come out in the last couple days. The chief of the DEA has come out and said that he made a big production. Capra is his name. And he came out and made this big theatrical production in front of the Senate, some hearing on Afghanistan drug production. It was all a fraud, essentially. And he says, oh, we're really afraid of marijuana legalization. It's scaring us. Oh, my God, the education people are scared, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to play the video. Just watch this guy feign total scaredness, or, you know, he's feigning this incredulity as well, that he just can't believe that they're going to legalize, and oh my God, it's going to be so terrible. But at the same time, these are the fucking guys bringing the drugs in. These guys are so evil. It's just so, and you can see the lies in this guy's fucking eyes. I'm serious. He just looks like such a sleaze to me. It's terrible. Anyways, that's my editorializing. That's my totally objective opinion. No, I don't know. These guys really get to me because they're basically profiting off of the blood of everybody. It's sick. It's like David Malmo Levine says, these guys are vampires. Vampires. All right, Marius, let's throw this one on.
DEA official in charge of enforcement. And the department announced that they weren't going to enforce some drug laws in states that voted to have other type of marijuana policy. And a lot of this is finding its way into my state of Iowa, even though their state laws say it can't happen. What's your view on the department's new policy?
Thank you, Senator. The department put out a policy by which the U.S. attorneys and prosecutors would consider there are 8 different factors in prosecuting cases relative to marijuana. Marijuana is still a Schedule I controlled substance. It's illegal. So we're still enforcing the law. But I will tell you, I'm glad you asked me that, Senator, because I have to say this. I've been 27 years as a DEA agent, 34 years in federal government. A father of 6 great kids and a wife who's hung out with me for 32 years. I've been serving the country since I'm 18 years old. I have to tell you this. I have to, and I served in the great state of California for 9 years as a new agent. And I went with you to Redding, California. You don't remember, there was more hair here, when we established an office up there for meth. I must tell you this, because it would be wrong for me to tell you. Going down the path to legalization in this country is reckless and irresponsible. The department has set up factors, sir, and I get that. I'm talking about the long-term impact of legalization in the United States. It scares us. The treatment people are afraid. The education people are afraid. Law enforcement is worried what is going to happen. In every part of the world where this experiment has been tried, it has failed time and time again. And here we are. The voters have decided to do this. It's going to impact the state, the surrounding states, and California's done it, ma'am. You know that. California's turned around and done a lot of great things, what they're doing, what they're seeing, and I wish some people would take example of what's happening. There are more dispensaries in Denver than there are Starbucks.
I think you're telling me that federal law ought to be enforced.
What I'm saying, sir, is the idea somehow that people have in our country, and to the extent that some legislators do, county elected officials do, that this is somehow good for us as a nation, sir. That this is good for the next generation of Americans coming up is wrong. It is a bad thing. And this body will get its door knocked on 10 years from now and say, how did we get where we get? People are going to ask us 10 years from now, how did we get where we're getting? And can I just put it in context with Afghanistan? At the International Drug Enforcement Conference that was held in Moscow, which is a planning and an operational meeting that we have every year, where we partner with new partners. Last year, we were in Moscow, 100 different nations. Can I tell you, we're sitting there, the administrator and I meeting with everyone, whether they be political leaders or law enforcement leaders. Almost everyone looked at us and said, why are you doing this? You're pointing the finger at us as a source state, and yet you turn around. I have no answer for them. I don't have an answer for them. I just don't. in 27 years ago, working in Washington Heights as a young agent, senior agents told me we could never work with Colombia. 27 years later, we have Algerians going to Colombia for best practices. I apologize for my excitement, but this is a bad experiment. It's a bad experiment, and it's going to cost the United States in terms of social costs. It's going to cost us in criminality. We have, ma'am, you need to know this. We have organizations. We just took it down in Bakersfield, and a group that took a marijuana dispensary as a front to launder its meth proceeds. We're not great case with San Francisco DEA, Bakersfield, Columbia, and Miami. This is the more I'm worried about. The more states that it happened to, they're going to come. You're going to demand from me. You're going to demand from DEA. How are you going to stop that? People think that DEA and the law enforcement officers around the world are interested in Billy and his bong and his basement. We're not. We never have been. That's his mother and father's problem. That's not the federal government's problem. That's not Jimmy Capra's problem in DEA. That's a mom and dad problem. What I'm interested in, what DEA has always been interested in, is the trafficking groups that want Billy to be puffing on his bong, the groups that are selling dope to our kids because they live off the backs of addiction. That's what they want. And I think sometimes get lost because there's been great things that have been done here in the United States. Been tremendous things that have been done here. But sir, you asked a question that's really, to some extent, not been answered. It's not been addressed. Ma'am, I know you have. I know you both have. But going down this road, so getting back to the department has given us factors on which prosecutors to prosecute cases. And by the way, we've never gone after, and have done that because people thought we're going after small-time traffickers. I've been DEA for 27 years, never arrested an addict, and I don't have any small-time traffickers that we don't have time for that because we're dealing with things like this on a global scale. I apologize for my
I'm going
excitement.
to submit my questions for, three more questions for answer in writing.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah. So
Thank
would you
Senator.
folks answer some questions I submit in writing because I have to go? Thank you.
Thank you
And
very
thank
much,
you all
Senator
for your
Grassley.
participation.
Let me just address Mr. Capra's
I think I'm going to
statement,
stay and
which
listen to what you say.
I see one of great law enforcement frustration, and I tend to agree. I oppose the legalization of marijuana in California with most of law enforcement. We beat it back that time. Whether we'll beat it back the next time, I have no clue. I believe that it is the wrong thing to do socially. I believe that it is a gateway drug. I believe that it leads to other things, and the fronting for methamphetamine is one of them. It's one thing to use it with a doctor's prescription to ease pain, particularly in a terminal situation. I understand that. And there are probably components of certain kinds of marijuana that can be used to treat babies medically. We're seeing that happen. But to say it should be used socially on an ongoing and robust basis, and I think, you know, your analogy that there are more marijuana stores in Denver than Starbucks is an interesting one.
All right. We had a black screen, but we got it back. Oh, there's a torch. Oh, okay.
He's at Age. Anyone going to Age, check him out. Blue Glass. I don't remember what room he's in, but.
Oh, here's the microphone.
Oh, well, you can probably hear it a little bit,
right.
but.
Is it? Do I need to do something?
There.
You show me how it's done. I don't understand these things. New age, newfangled devices.
And then when you're done, turn off the propane.
Turn off the propane. Follow the arrow. Okay. Should I not heat the stem and just heat the plate?
Probably ideal.
So we got the rig going on here. For anybody who doesn't understand the concept of dabbing, I have a hard time believing anybody watching the show hasn't seen this done before, but got the torch, hitting the tie plate, heating it up, so when we put our little piece of, what is it that we're?
Green crack shatter.
Green crack shatter. So, we think we're done there? Is that good?
Yeah.
That's like pretty red there. And we just slide this little
Swing
bastard
arm
down perfectly. And
It's a nice big dab.
yeah, wow, that is one. Okay, so I better take it easy here.
I guess I'm scared with Thai plates because I feel like the oil is just gonna like drip off, and I'm pretty sure that's what this thing on my pants is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Massive dab.
I do sometimes.
Ooh-wee.
Oh baby. Oh my God, that was good.
But honestly,
So
that
clean.
one's much easier for travel. I was gonna bring it down, but
Oh,
Swing arm for sure.
good Lord.
that's too much for my
Too much.
Wow. That is some crazy ass shit. Nice dab, nice dab.
There you go.
They're telling me not to do a Marius. Poor Marius. He greened out one time, and that was a sublimator. Yeah, he was having like, I don't know how many they put in there, but
Ninja dabbed.
well, the Ninja dabs sublimator
Yeah.
has a bunch of little holes around the top
Yeah,
of it. Marius got pretty fucked up and hit the deck, but took the camera down with him. I think we were doing a live broadcast. We were at the expo. What expo was it? The Vancouver Health Expo.
You can only
It
ninja
was
dab
the
the right
Vancouver
people.
Health
You
Expo.
can't ninja dab certain people. Certain people
Yeah.
just don't
Well,
deal well with it.
It was just
Kinda sad.
it was a lot. Yeah, he was fine. He's durable. He bounces like a child. Yeah. So yeah, you were pretty high. You had a good time. Yeah. So wow, that was I am really high now. Holy shit. That shit hits you like a ton of bricks.
It does.
My goodness, I forgot what I was doing here. Okay, so I guess we have more videos. We got to get through these because they're pretty important. One of them we're going to save. I do have one more about the DEA. I'm going to save to the end, or one more about Mexicans not being surprised, I don't think. One more about Mexicans.
No,
You're a Mexican?
You said
Yeah.
Mexican, I laugh.
I saw you.
Anytime somebody says Mexican, I laugh.
You're Mexican, aren't you? Or
stare at
partially,
you as soon
you
as
have
you
some
said
lineage Mexican, half
Literally
Mexican.
My dad looks like
Literally
Cheech.
one
He
half?
looks like young. Okay, you know Cheech from like.
Give her the mic, maybe?
Sorry.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
okay.
you know Cheech from like Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke.
I do know
like
Cheech.
the original movie.
Well, I don't know him personally, but I know Chong.
Yeah.
No,
I'm definitely
I
closer to
definitely
Chong
am
than I'm
familiar
Cheech.
with Cheech
But my
Marin.
dad, if you put a
the actor.
red toque on him, he looks exactly like young Cheech.
Does he
Marin.
talk like Cheech?
He has a Mexican accent, pretty close.
That is so
Oh
cool.
yeah, he's got like a mushroom. His friends call him bigotes.
We
which
should
is
have him on
Spanish
Pot
for
TV.
mustache.
We should get him on here, and we'll bring Tommy on.
Okay, well, can you give me yeah, I know, dude, he's the raddest dude ever. He works in bars.
Maybe
like,
we can
on
get
the
him
beach
and the real
Mexico.
Cheech together.
Dude.
I'd love to meet Cheech. I think
Well,
they were here in
okay,
Vancouver, and I just wasn't able to go to the
Send
show.
me to Mexico with
sorry
return
about
ticket
that.
money, and I will go and get my Cheech.
Send you to
looking
Mexico.
father. Although
Well,
he
as
is
long as
quite
we
more
send you to the
gray.
right place.
He's a
Uh-oh.
lot more gray.
Did it go black?
Yeah, he's like an old young Cheech. He's
Are we
still
still
young
on?
and wears nothing but white
Blackness, it
beaters.
says. Yeah.
You guys.
We have blackness. Sorry. Just a second ago.
My dad's the raddest dude ever. So.
Okay.
That's sweet.
Yeah,
he looks like Cheech. He better be fun.
Hold on. You don't have to
Have I
do
shown you
anything,
a picture
Marius.
of him?
No.
I'll show you a picture.
It seems to be working. I don't know if it is or not. Maybe it's still black. No, it seems like it's there. Okay, it's back. So I don't know how far we got into our Cheech talk, but your dad looks just like Cheech if you
Yeah.
put a red toque on him.
He looks like young Cheech.
It'd be cool
like,
to get
as
him and
Cheech
the real
got fat.
Cheech together.
Like, I love Cheech, but he got fat.
Well, he was a lot skinnier before when he was young. Yeah, sure.
But like my dad wears nothing but white beaters and drinks beer in bars in Mexico all day because he fixes their sound systems.
Sounds like a nice guy.
Yeah, no, he's rad.
I love drinking beer in Mexican bars.
It's
all
pretty
day.
awesome. It's like right on the beach.
Oh, Mexico
You gotta
is
go.
so beautiful.
I've lived in Mexico.
That concern.
My dad lived there for a while.
Go
I got
there.
to go
It's
down and
awesome.
visit him. That's the thing I wanted to say about this whole Mexico thing is it's really sad because Mexico is such a beautiful fucking place. And it's, well, I mean, there's obviously Mexico has its problems. There's some places in Mexico that aren't so beautiful. The poverty in Mexico is massive and overwhelming.
Even
Unlike
Mazatlan
anything.
is pretty bad. Like, you see a lot of
nothing like we have here in
cardboard
Canada.
shack. My dad's house, like, I remember helping mix concrete. Like, as an 11-year-old, living in Mexico with my father, like, mixing concrete and like, helping him build his house brick by brick with concrete. Like, that house is handmade. That 2 floors of house is handmade. I was there, like, I remember when that house didn't have, like, a certain roof or didn't have a second floor. Like, didn't have a living room roof. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Build a house out of concrete.
Yeah,
and you have to build the houses out of concrete in Mexico because
and, like, they're a pretty well-off family. Like,
because anything else, the humidity is too strong there, and if you make anything out of wood, it'll just fall to pieces.
Oh, yeah.
And same with, we have everything made of wood here on the western side of Canada, but even in Toronto, everything's made of brick. Yeah, because it's just you can't have anything made, and the problem with the whole cement thing is when there's an earthquake, that cement falls in on you and you're fucked. Yeah, you got a big cement slab on top of you.
Pretty much.
But yeah, it's cool when you're there. Like I love it in Mexico. All the houses being made of that cement. Or like a lot of things. I guess Mexico, that's made of all kinds of different stuff.
Cement and bars.
Yeah, bars.
Yeah. Everybody has bars on their windows.
Yeah, but the buildings are very, I don't know, they have this very sort of, I don't know what that architectural design element is, but it has this sort of, that Texan flavor in there as well.
Kind of reminds me of like an Aztec.
It's Aztec-ish or something, and it's very colorful, and it has, I don't know, it's very sort of, it is that sort of traditional looking design or something. I don't know, it's beautiful. I like it a lot.
I miss it.
Yeah. It's a beautiful country. But unfortunately, these drug gangs are taking over the streets, and we have like crazy stuff going on now where vigilante gangs are now going and fighting the drug gangs and trying to fight back against them.
Wow.
But
Sounds terrible.
yeah, but and then it comes out though that a lot of these vigilante gangs are actually just members of other cartels who are pretending that they're good people for the citizens, but actually they're just trying to get rid of one gang for the other gang. But, of course, it's the wild, wild west down there. The gangs are in complete control of everything. The government is part of the gangs, essentially.
You see a lot of dudes driving around with, like, giant guns.
Yeah.
You don't know whether they're cops or not.
Oh, outside of every bank.
We're not going to talk to you.
Yeah, outside of every bank, they have a damn machine gun.
I look very Canadian for a Mexican, and I feel thankful for that sometimes.
Well, yeah. It's an interesting thing. Well, that can also work against you sometimes, though, depending on where you travel to. But
when I'm with my family, I look Mexican, so it's like I definitely. Right. But like when I'm with my mom, like my mom's blonde hair, blue eyes, like I definitely look more on the Canadian side. But I'm with my family, I look pretty Mexican.
Yeah.
Especially if I've been in the sun.
Well, Mexico can be a dangerous place.
Couple more shades. Couple more shades. Don't straighten the hair.
Like we go to visit my family,
curly,
they're like, "Yo, are you sick?" No, I just winter in Canada.
All right.
I just don't get sun. It's cool. I'm not a vampire.
The sun doesn't come out in Vancouver.
So I wanted to play a video from CNN headline news. Now this video, we're gonna have to watch this, you guys, because we're like with the sound up full here. This is insane. This video is totally off the hook insane. Nancy Grace, do you guys know who that is? Nancy Grace.
Oh,
she is such a fucking crazy person. She's so insane. I can't believe they put her on television. It's appalling, actually. Because she's just such she's like a moronic of a scale of Bill O'Reilly status or above, but even more weird and crazy. And she always does these shows. She's on CNN Headline News, which is the 24-hour CNN news network that does like little clips, even shorter sound bites of bullshit. But she has this show that's all about like young, beautiful women going missing. It's always young, beautiful women going missing, and that's all she does on her show, or like other like sex crimes against young, beautiful women and things like that. It's all very weird. It seems to have, to me, like I don't know what CNN, why they focus on always, and the women they focus on are usually white women, blonde, or they're like, attractive. They have attractive photos, like the Jean Benet stuff they always have on that show and that kind of crap or whatever.
How many times can you show the Jean Benet stuff?
Oh yeah, I know. I think maybe, I'm not sure about that one, but it's that type of content.
I've I've seen that before.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of Chamonix stuff.
And she has this. I think she was a lawyer or something, and she has this like air of know-it-allness about her that everybody else is wrong and she knows everything, and it's very like aggressive, her style with everybody. A former prosecutor she is, I guess. No wonder. Jeez. That's what Bravo 420 said. But she came out recently and said marijuana makes you fat and stupid. That's what she said, yeah. And
okay, best come back to that. Fastest man on earth and fastest man in the water.
Yeah.
Both potheads.
You got it. And
Boom.
the studies, there's scientific studies that have come out that show that marijuana actually changes your metabolism and actually makes you skinnier. It says it's in there in the documentation. It changes the way your body processes the fat that's in it. There's a lot of that. So yeah, and this, but she's like, that was just the start of it. Her saying that marijuana users are fat and lazy. Now in this clip, she says the craziest things, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody because it's just so insane. But we're gonna watch this one, and and you guys out there, check this out. Nancy Grace. And now, wait, before we go to the clip, though, I wanted to say the person that she is basically, like, trying to argue with and just yelling at, essentially, is Mason Tvert, who is a Colorado activist, who's the guy who essentially legalized marijuana in Colorado with the help of his great team or whatever, but he was kind of spearheading the movement to do that. And he's an amazing activist. We had him on the show 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
And so he's a great guy, and I really do like Mason a lot. Let's see if this works. Okay, Marius, go for it. Everything's still good over there? So you go ahead and play that. I'm going to try and put this up. I'm going to have to play it on a different monitor.
Brad
here.
Lamb joining us, addiction specialist and founder of Breathe. It is a life healing center. Also with us, Mason Tvert, communications director of the Marijuana Policy Project. All right, Mason Tvert, let's first ask you, what is the Marijuana Policy Project? What is that? And do you get paid by them?
Well, yeah, that's my job. Our goal is to end marijuana prohibition and replace it with a system where marijuana is regulated and taxed and treated similarly to alcohol. It's a system that a majority of Americans now think would be a much preferable system to the one that we have.
Okay, and again, in a nutshell, if you could, you think marijuana should be legalized because why? I mean, you do know it's addictive, highly addictive, right?
Well, marijuana's addictive properties have been found to be actually pretty mild compared to not only alcohol and tobacco, but even caffeine. So, you know,
Well,
the
sir,
question is this.
so
Do we
are you
really need
admitting
to be
that it is
criminalizing
addictive?
adults, Nancy?
You do admit that
yeah,
it's
so
addictive.
is sex, so are video games. The thing is that
Well,
you just
I
you do
disagree
not
with
like
you.
the people that use
I
marijuana.
disagree with you.
You just
I
don't like
completely-
people who use marijuana, and you want to
No,
see them
that's not
punished.
it.
But the fact
No,
is that they're
actually-
normal people just like you. They enjoy using marijuana for the same reasons people like having a drink after work, and they shouldn't be made criminals for it.
Actually, Brad Lamb, the reason I'm against the legalization of pot is because I've seen too many felonies. And I don't mean pot sales or growing pot like this guy up in Connecticut. I mean people on pot that shoot each other, that stab each
wrecked
other,
lives, the
strangle
screwed up
each other,
brains, the troubled
drive
families.
under the influence, kill families, wipe out a whole family. The first time I ever had a pot
You sound
case,
like you're from the 1930s.
this female
No,
stock-
but I have to.
Hold on, Brad. The first time I ever came in the first case, it was a plea, and there was this gorgeous lady standing in the middle of the courtroom crying, and I didn't understand. I said, "Well, what is this case?" Somebody else was taking a plea, and they said she's a stockbroker. She got addicted to pot. She ended up losing her job, wrecked her car, couldn't make the house payments on her house. So her husband got custody of the children. So now she has no car, no house, no family, nothing.
And the advocates for pot, to your point, sir, that's advocating pot, is they're so thin-skinned. On one hand, they're saying, hey, it's no big deal. It's not as addictive as alcohol or meth. It doesn't wreck as many lives. And then I have all these moms over here with whom I work, and on Twitter, Nancy, who have said, you know, this has wiped out our family. This has caused a lot of pain and suffering in the lives of our loved ones. So So the one, the pot advocates have terribly thin skin, and I think there's really the pot profit motive that he's really advocating for more than anything.
Brad, let me ask you a question.
And pot does wreck a lot of lives.
Sir, I work for a nonprofit organization. You're a treatment specialist who gets paid because people get referred to treatment when they get arrested for marijuana. I mean, this is absolutely because there's no evidence that marijuana leads to violent, aggressive behavior.
When they're addicted.
Let
me correct you, Mr.
9%, according to the Institute of Medicine. Okay, according to the Institute of Medicine, about 9% of people who try marijuana become addictive. Compared to
the moral or ethical core of the work you do, sir. You know, just because you have a nonprofit doesn't,
you know, if you
mean
want
that you're doing meaningful work. Anybody can have a nonprofit.
Sir, give me a break. Come on. The fact is that a majority of Americans are on my side because your side cannot come up with a legitimate argument for why we should keep criminalizing adults
but if your
for using a
argument
less harmful
is it's not
substance
as
than
bad
alcohol.
as meth or alcohol, that's a ridiculous
Do you drink, sir? Do you consume alcohol?
I
Do you
don't.
consume alcohol?
I've been clean and sober for 11
You
years.
don't. You never drink. You don't hang out with people who drink. You've got you absolutely are sober.
I do
well,
hang,
you are
I
one
do
of the
hang out with people
10%
that
of
drink.
Americans like that.
Well,
do you think
know
that they
what,
should be
Brad,
criminalized?
I guess that
struggled with
makes
addiction.
you and me complete space aliens because the last thing I want is for the children, my twins, to see me boozing it up. I mean, when my
Impaired,
husband drinks
being a
Diet
bad
Coke,
parent.
Brad, I make him put it in an opaque plastic cup. I don't even want them to see him having soda, okay? If they want to make those
the pot
decisions
advocates,
when they're
Nancy, have such
18, that's
thin
their
skin.
decision. Yeah, you know, you do have thin skin,
Mason is incredulous.
You seem like you can't believe
I have
somebody
perfectly
can
thick
live
skin. If you
without
can see
drinking
me,
or
you
being
can tell.
high.
I mean, the thing is, you guys are spewing these claims from the 1920s and 30s that have been debunked by the largest health and science organizations in the world.
But
the World
Mason,
Health
that's a lie.
Organization, the Institute of
National
Medicine
Institute on Drug
disagree with
Abuse
you.
Has a study that is
which
a
is the
recent
most
study,
politicized federal
Okay,
agency around.
cut Mason's mic because Brad can't get a word in.
It talks that pot is less addictive than meth and alcohol, less addictive than nicotine. But for those who it has a profound negative effect, it screws their life up, Mason, and addiction does result with folks that
you know,
get
Brad,
addicted to pot.
Brad, I normally agree with you, but I think you and Mason, where's Mason? Where's Brad? I think you're
Mason
both.
went away.
I think you're both missing my point, and that point is you seem to be offering me only a life where I've got to be drinking booze, or I've got to be smoking, or I've got to be high on pot. And you know what? I really think there's a different way to live.
Yo, we're back. Oh, just in time to do a dab.
Right in time.
Yeah, but I thought I was going to be sneaky enough. No.
There you go.
Never.
Can't be sneaky.
Always.
Gotta be
tokes.
On Pot
cam.
TV. Don't let the dab go to waste without filming it, showing it off.
Jared never lets me get away with it.
No, exactly.
I know, it's so caked. Ugh.
That thing's awesome. Cool.
I should grab a roller.
So Nancy Grace, ladies, what do you think?
She's crazy.
She's like, it wipes out entire families.
Dude, people
what
with that
is
kind of
wrong with
ignorance,
her?
it's I just don't even understand.
It's like nobody even comes close to taking it to that level, though. Not even like, is anybody that crazy? Like, even the people who really are the frothing nuts aren't that frothing and nutty.
Yeah, they are.
Well,
they are.
there's always extremes, right? But like,
She's really taking it there, I guess. Maybe. I'm
On
trying to think of
average.
other people that have pushed it this far. She's just yelling at people and stuff. But I mean, it's so bizarre. Her arguments are so outdated. It's like you think her team would do a little research and realize that what Mason's saying about them being from the 1930s is true. All that stuff was like pretty much debunked, years and years and years ago. Nobody thinks like that. Yeah. Nancy Grace versus Noam Chomsky, somebody wrote in the chat. That I'd like to see that one.
I don't know who Noam Chomsky is.
Noam Chomsky is a linguist, actually. He's a professor at MIT University, and he's a famous activist who's for a lot of progressive causes. He's an anarchist, actually, and he's well known as Noam Chomsky's kind of a long story.
Fair enough. All right.
He's known for a couple different things. He's known for his revolutionary thoughts on the field of linguistics and language. He came up with almost a mathematics that goes behind the study of language. And his studies caused a revolution in the field of linguistics that kind of moved out from there into the rest of the social sciences. So it's kind of a cool, he's a big guy. He's like a pretty important mind. He's a wide scope intellectual, but he's also an anarchist and believes in ending the drug war, and he says a lot of smart stuff. A lot of smart stuff.
Pretty interesting man.
Yeah,
Sounds
but
like.
he does avoid certain topics. One of the topics he avoids, and he has some weird thoughts about, is 9/11. He doesn't believe it's an inside job, and he says, well, if they did it, who cares? But I truly believe Noam Chomsky doesn't tread in dangerous waters intentionally so that he can live another day to tell certain things. I bet they've told him exactly what he's allowed to say. I bet he's only supposed to go so far. You know, and then they probably got the damn little red beam on his head.
Not supposed to talk.
A guy like that, how can they? If these guys have these cartels controlled, and these DEA has all this stuff, you think these other American government agencies can't just do whatever they want and they don't control everything? The CIA has been saying for years. Here's a quote from William Colby, the director of the CIA, from a few years ago. He says, "Anybody of any major significance in the American media is bought and paid for by the CIA." They're all government agents. They all work for them.
So
just like
scary,
how they go.
man.
They have endless resources. They have as much money as they could possibly imagine because they run the drug organizations. They use all this money from the drug trade to do all their dirty things that they do and pay off all these corporations and have all these front corporations, front banking corporations, front corporations that do everything you can imagine. Like, how about Google or something? That's like a front corporation. Look at the board of directors of Google. It's craziness. It's craziness. These people, they go right from the intelligence community and working in the CIA to being on the board of directors of Google. And it's, you know, there's just this everything, and they're collecting all of our information.
Goodness.
They're listening to us right now, and everything you do. I think it goes even further. You know, David made an interesting point, Marius, when he was on the show earlier about, I don't know how much of this you guys heard,
Money.
but David said that, oh, I lost my train of thought here. Oh, no, David's point about politicians and the things that they do, sometimes they let a certain amount of the information come out, like in Iran-Contra. They allowed the spigot to flow with a little bit, and they had to have some fall guys on it, and that to happen. I'm starting to wonder, is Edward Snowden and all of the NSA revelations about them spying on us and all this stuff, is that just the tip of the iceberg? Is it way more massive, and that's just one little thing that they're focusing on? I don't know, though. That's a big one. I don't know if you guys have been following that stuff, but this guy, Edward Snowden, he was a contractor for the U.S. government. He worked for the NSA for a company, a private corporation called Booz Allen Hamilton. And supposedly Booz Allen Hamilton just works directly with the government to, like, do these projects of spying on everybody. And he has full access. He can spy on anybody anytime. They can turn on all your devices. They can do all this stuff. And Edward Snowden collected millions of documents secretly and then handed it all over to the Guardian newspaper, a journalist there named Glenn Greenwald, and a few other select journalists around the world, and has been exposing all of these crazy things that they're doing. Every single week, new revelations come out. Now it comes out that they collect everybody's text messages, every single thing in everybody's text messages. They can search with keywords. They have keywords that are flagged automatically, so if you say and do certain things, you'll be flagged automatically. Things like what we've been saying on the show today, we would definitely be flagged, I'm sure. So I'm sure they have their little microphones running constantly and everything. Like I'm sure they probably have the videos running constantly and everything. I'm sure it's probably, who knows, they can do whatever they wanted to. I mean, that might be a bit of a stretch. I actually I'm not a technical person on that end of it, so who could say what they do? But if you can fathom that it's possible to do, you think that these guys haven't fathomed it and tried to make it possible?
Exactly. If
These
we're
guys,
hearing about it,
yeah.
you know this is like a year ago that
These
this has
guys
been actually
are
happening. Now they're on to some bigger stuff.
If they can make this device, they can make it do whatever they want. If they can make it record us whenever we want, it can make it record us whenever they want. The new iPhone that has like the GPS, like in that little circle, there's like the fingerprint thing and the GPS. Yeah.
There's a GPS tracker that you can never turn
freaky?
it off. It's always on. It can always track your phone, even if your phone's off.
That's freaky to me because it's freaky because, say in a court of law, if somebody was using your phone, you wouldn't really have any proof. Somebody could have stolen my phone and been a drug dealer under my name. But with your fingerprint on the phone every day, that's your phone, buddy. You know, that there's
You
no
have
way
to
to
use
deny
your
that.
fingerprint to unlock it
Yeah.
every single time
It
you use
can't-
it.
Yeah. So
Here, have all
that'll
my
stand up in
personal
court.
Yeah,
information.
right? That's scary.
Faraday cage. A Faraday cage, I think Bravo 420 is a way that you protect your data by putting it in an electromagnetically charged casing housing.
Whoa.
Where if the government wants to erase all your computers, they could just shoot an electromagnetic charge at your damn computer at any distance. Probably there's like Tesla type technologies that can do just about anything. They could just zap all your shit and your stuff would be erased or whatever. And I think it blocks out everything. They're saying fabric cloth bags for your phone,
Too much.
blocks out radio frequencies. You can put it in the fridge. So you could put your phone in a Faraday cage, and then they'd never be able to. You know, it's interesting, and I'm not joking. Okay, just on the topic of Edward Snowden, this NSA guy, there was a guy sitting in the lounge the other day, and he told me, and he seemed like a good guy. He was wearing like kind of a suit and stuff. He told me that he hung out with Edward Snowden. His dad was a lawyer who helped get him to where he was going or something. I hope maybe we shouldn't be saying this kind of stuff. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know any information, so
You're in the get up
I'll tell them
as soon
whatever
as
they
you
want.
watch.
I'll tell them whatever they want.
Now
I
they're
know
gonna turn our shit on
absolutely
before
nothing.
they weren't
But
watching.
yeah, supposedly
I didn't warn you about
he
Jeremiah
said
and his
craziness.
Yeah. He said that when he was hanging out with Edward Snowden, that Edward Snowden made them all put their telephones in the refrigerator. They had to put their phones in the fridge, he said. And that was essentially the only thing he told me. Besides that, I was only hanging out in the lounge for 2 seconds, and I'm like, I gotta go. And so I didn't even get the guy's name. So I know nothing, I swear. Just joking. Nobody's watching this show.
We have to run, but we're gonna.
All right,
no,
guys.
we're gonna be back. We're just going to top up our parking meter.
The parking meter. Oh, I see. Okay,
We'll be
well,
back.
we're going
We'll
to
be
be,
back for bongers.
we got a couple more videos to play, so come back and do a bong
There
rip
you
before
go,
the end of the show. Yeah. Thanks, ladies. Well, we'll wait till you get back for that kind of stuff. We don't want to go crazy. Thank you. All right, Marius, let's get this business done now. Enough yapping. Okay, so next video up. We watched Nancy Grace. Let's watch the Maryland marijuana legalization video. Maryland marijuana. Is that the one? You got her? Yeah, so Maryland moving forward with an interesting plan. I guess I'll just let the video explain. Check this one out.
Decriminalizing pot is creating a buzz through the region. Today, another group of lawmakers said they want to loosen marijuana laws even further, eventually legalizing pot. Whitney Wild explains why not everyone is high on the idea.
In Annapolis today, Maryland State Senator Jamie Raskin and other lawmakers proposed taxing and regulating marijuana.
We are wasting law enforcement resources that could be spent and should be spent on serious violent crimes and white-collar crimes.
It comes just one day after a D.C. City Council committee advanced legislation to decriminalize the possession of small amounts of pot. That bill now moves on to the full council.
The ultimate goal here is not to allow simple possession of marijuana to destroy someone's life.
Just a few miles away in Prince George's County, County Executive Rashawn Baker told me he's intrigued by the district's move.
Certainly, I support decriminalization. You have a number of people who have a small amount of marijuana and they have a criminal record and can't get jobs at a time when we're trying to do something about our returning citizens.
Baker says what happens in the district will have a major influence on bills in Maryland.
I think decriminalization and making sure that we're not, exacerbating our criminal problem.
Residents we spoke with say they're split on decriminalizing pot.
I'm not really a fan of it. I think there's a reason why it's banned now.
I'm neutral on that. I do not support, but I may not oppose that.
A lot of people are going to jail for really long times for it, and it's really not necessary because it's not doing nothing that bad.
According to the Marijuana Policy Project, there were more than 20,000 arrests for pot possession in Maryland in 2012. As interest in legalizing and decriminalizing the drug grows, Baker says he's watching closely.
It's going to be a wait and see, though, what happens in Colorado with taking it any further than that.
In Prince George's County, Maryland, Whitney Wild, News Channel 8.
Good to be back. Oh, why didn't you tell me? I'm still stretching, Marius. Can't be back yet. I'm falling asleep over here. I need a coffee is what I need, really. Gotta like whack the table with a ruler if I fall asleep over here. Jeez. I'm just joking. Okay, so I think we should play another sort of happy situation. Well, was happy until the governator, her own type of governator, came through in New Hampshire here. Marius, do you know about this story? Did you hear it through the grapevine? You posted it through the grapevine? All right, well, I don't know where, media source, I forget now where this is coming from, but it's interesting news from New Hampshire. So let's check it out. Throw it on, Marius. Okay.
Momentum may continue to build after the legalization of recreational marijuana in Colorado. Now the New Hampshire House has voted to legalize marijuana. U.S. News is reporting that the New Hampshire House of Representatives endorsed a bill yesterday that would legalize marijuana in New Hampshire. Legislators initially voted against it, 170 to 168. They chose to vote again, and the second time they approved legalizing pot with 170 votes. The bill is HB 492. It would decriminalize possession of 1 ounce of marijuana by adults 21 or older. It would allow residents to grow up to 6 plants, and state-licensed stores would be authorized to sell marijuana. This is the first victory of its kind in an American legislature, Lewis. Remember that Colorado and Washington had votes. In other words, not legislative votes, but actual just citizens' votes to legalize. Legalization is still a long shot in New Hampshire because, in part, the governor has said that she opposes making her state the first on the East Coast to legalize marijuana, saying, I don't support the decriminalization of marijuana any further, and I would veto it if it comes to my desk. She is a Democrat, interestingly enough. A sponsor of the bill, a Republican, Steve Vaillancourt, gave a big speech saying, just as we would no longer say women have to go back in the kitchen or gays have to go back in the closet, we recognize that times have changed. We are no longer slaves to our misguided past. He says we need to legalize. Lewis, hopefully we will see the momentum to get past this issue and the issue of marriage equality and really move on to bigger and better things and progress as a society. I think hopefully Colorado is a part of that.
Yeah, I think so. It is kind of sad that perhaps the most promising thing this country has going for it is the legalization of pot. But yeah, it's something.
It is an incredible thing.
How was the parking meter action?
It's good. We're here for another 50 minutes.
Oh, there you go. Woo-wee. I don't know what happened to the other microphone.
Oh,
there
it's right here. I put it down.
Oh, nice. That's okay. Yeah. So I'm excited about all the different things that are happening across the United States with marijuana legalization. It seems like every day there's news stories of different either municipalities or governments, different areas that want to move forward with these plans, whether there's groups in California that are moving now with the full legalization thing. And then there's, uh-oh, you're right. Thank you.
Saved his computer.
You're right. How much time we got left here?
Well,
8 minutes. Dun, 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 dun. I thought it was plugged in. Oh, it's the other end that's not. Okay. We do have another video here. Wait, we played those ones. Oh, New York was the other one I wanted to play. Now, this video is kind of funny. But yeah, New York.
There's a big couple things in the last week or two.
Yeah, the governor there, Cuomo, mayor, or wait, he's the mayor. Wait, no, what is he? I thought, I'm getting confused. Cuomo. So it's only in the city then that this is happening? I thought we were talking about the state here. Geez, I guess I didn't read up on this one. Andrew Cuomo is the governor of New York.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So there you go. So it is the state. I thought so. And so yeah, they're going to be.
And he's all for it.
Well, yeah, he's for it, and he's moving forward with it. He pulled like an executive decision kind of thing.
Oh,
like
damn,
fuck it,
just
I'm
like
moving forward kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is pretty slick.
I'm the boss. What I say goes.
Exactly. So
Well
that's
done,
a cool
sir.
thing. We're going to play a video about this issue. But it says, now I do see an article here, I just brought this up in the New York Times, even supporters question Cuomo's marijuana plan. So there's probably issues with it. Hopefully it won't be one of these backdoor things, like there's another way they can arrest you and somehow like probe you with some sort of strange instrument, taser or something. That's really...
That got off topic real
Well,
quick.
no, but that's not far off when it comes to New York, because what they've been doing in New York, and I explained this on the show last time, they have a law there where it's illegal. It's legal to carry marijuana if you keep it in your pocket, but if you hold it, take it out of your pocket, then it's illegal. And so the cops will go up to people and say, empty your pockets. And as soon as they take out the marijuana,
It becomes illegal.
it's illegal, and they arrest them.
That's.
And in New York, they've done all kinds of weirdo shit to people, like shove stuff up their ass, and they just do all kinds of horrible things. It's very strange and very weird, and the cops do that all over the place, though, by the way. There's a whole bunch of cops that are sexual perverts and all kinds of weird shit. It's crazy.
Sketchy.
Crazy, crazy. They like to abuse people, a lot of these people in authoritarian positions.
Well, that's not new, and that's
not
only
new.
in the cannabis scene either. That's
No,
just everywhere.
that's never going to go away. If you have people who want to be in charge of other people and that's all they want, you're going to have issues with some of that.
Most
definitely.
Most cops I've met have been total power trippers.
Yeah, and even the good
I've met
cops
some pretty cool ones.
have to like conform to this
Yeah, they have
culture
to,
that's there and stuff that's unhealthy, in my opinion. Anyway, Marius, let's slap this one up there. Let's watch this one.
1 pound of marijuana, and you can sign for it right here.
This is how some people are feeling in the new year. Medical marijuana is a highly debated issue for decades, and one that's making a breakthrough in courts. 20 states and D.C. have enacted laws to legalize medical marijuana. New York will become the 21st state to allow medical use of cannabis. Governor Andrew Cuomo gave his full support during his election year speech in Albany. As of now, those found with small amounts of weed in New York are penalized with a fine.
20 states have already started to use it. We'll establish a program allowing up to 20 hospitals to prescribe medical marijuana, and we will monitor the program to evaluate the effectiveness and the feasibility of a medical marijuana system.
However, not all politicians are in favor. Pennsylvania Governor Tom Corbett says he would veto any legislation that comes to his desk.
I do not support the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes. Marijuana is a gateway drug. And as a career prosecutor, I have seen the devastating results illegal drugs can have on people, their families, and their communities.
In these following states, licensed retail stores sell anywhere from an ounce to 24 ounces of plants to those over 21 years old and carrying a prescription. Nationally, Colorado was the first state to issue legal cannabis earlier this year. Iraq War veteran Shah Nazirati suffers from PTSD and was the first to purchase it in the nation.
It helps alleviate my symptoms of PTSD. I'd rather use cannabis than benzos like Klonopin and Xanax. It's a lot more safer in my opinion.
In Colorado, it is reported that cannabis generated $5 million in its first week of sales. A group of activists are pushing to legalize recreational marijuana in Alaska. Today, they turned in more than 46,000 signatures, 50% more than what was needed to the state. If voters approve the measure, it would make it the third state after Colorado and Washington. Tasmin Mahfouz, Ember News.
Back? Oh yeah. Like to hear the little echo. All right, so New York too, everywhere. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of the show today, ladies. Thanks for coming on. That was cool.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it was awesome. That was great.
He is like the best guest ever.
Thanks.
Very good.
I'll come
very
back
good.
next time, and I'll bring you
I've had some
gear
pretty
and
good
Kush Common
guests.
swag.
Yeah. Come on back
Oh, so you're
anytime.
saying I'm not the coolest guest
well,
ever?
jeez, I mean, come on, don't overstate it. I'm just joking. You were a very, very
Thank
good
you.
guest. I would say you were definitely in the running for best guest ever. Definitely in the running for best
I
guest
really
ever.
can't say whether she was best guy. I've only really seen her. In a few
I'm
events,
just fucking with you. I'm just trying to-
Everyone.
one of
is
those
the
one of those
best.
statements. Yeah, you can't make a statement like that. There's no such thing as a best because everybody has their own best.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so everybody who's watching has their own best guest ever. Yeah.
You should do a poll at the end of the year. Who was your favorite guest?
That's not a bad idea, actually.
There you go.
Well, it's going to be you now. It's going to be you no matter who it is. Now,
And I'll just come back and I'll just bring goodies every time.
now
so
your
it'll get better
title
and
is
better.
best guest ever, and that's going to be what it is from now on, essentially. All right. Well, yeah. So people, drop the website addresses one more time.
Kushcommon.com, Cannacorp.org, and themarijuanamodels.com or themarijuanamodels.com.
Yeah. And what about you over there, Stoner Advisory? What about your
Oh,
materials?
and find me on Instagram and YouTube at Busy Izzy. BIZZEIZZE.
Nice. It's all good.
I know, I'm Stoner_advisory on Instagram. I've actually never plugged my Instagram before.
What about your...
My photos?
Yeah.
All my photos?
Yeah.
Stoner Advisory Shots on Facebook, or facebook.com/ and soon to be on Kush Common. I have a Kush Common account. I have like 200 friends. But yeah,
200
not my
friends?
photography yet. Yeah, so
Nice, you're rolling.
yeah, I figured I'd just add everybody. It'll be my just straight pot site. Like as she said, granted my Facebook is covered in weed. My name on Facebook is Stoner Advisory, so
Yeah.
yeah, I
You're
tend to.
definitely
I'm one of those
weedified.
total out there. Like I don't care. It's my life. Deal with it, kind of thing. But yeah, Facebook.com/stoner shots. That's my photo page. Just got a new setup from New Year's. That was awesome. New Year's Eve. That was a sick party. So yeah, go check those out and bunch of pot stuff.
Well, it was awesome, but it was dumb.
Cool. There you go. And Marius doesn't have a website address to drop. But yeah. That's right. Cannabisculture.com and Pot.tv. The same ones I have to drop. But yeah, I guess, did we actually have David Levine on the show we had today? I wanted to give him a big thanks. David is so full of amazing information. You guys missed the first part of David's rally.
I've never seen the guy behind it. And
Yeah.
I've seen him before and I've seen him on the show.
Well, David is an art dealer. So David, I don't know if he ever does any art himself, but he is responsible for the art museum or the entire museum, all the stuff that hangs in the hallways. And he is also kind of the curator of all the art that's in this place. He brokers all the deals with the artists. He really is an art dealer.
And he gives great hugs.
And he does give great
I've got
hugs.
some crazy Washington artists that you guys should get in here.
Yeah, David's a good guy, and he knows what he's up to. I lost my monitor here, but yeah, that's okay. I know that you're still broadcasting. Oh, hey, those are great. Wow, I like that.
Yeah, a dude's just in Washington.
Oh, we lost the background. Oh,
Right.
that's okay.
And
We're
he
just
did
shutting the show down. It's kind of like, the Friendly Giant.
Ganja God.
Got to close the whole thing down. Rusty goes back in his bag. Yeah. You put the rocking chairs next to the fire.
This table is super
Yeah,
lovely.
that's right. Look up, way up, and then you look back down after, I guess. All right, well, thanks, Pot TV, for watching. Always a pleasure on Fridays doing the show with you here. You can always tune into lots of other Pot.tv content on our website, Pot.tv, of course. And yeah, there's always going to be more stuff there. Check out Redbeard tomorrow. I think he's doing a show. Should be on Saturday, 4 p.m. Check that out. Yeah, I'm almost 100%, but not 100%. So if he's not, I'm sorry I gave you the wrong impression. All right. Peace, Pot TV. We'll see you soon. I'll be back next Friday, as usual. And you can tune into Marius' show before this show at 2 p.m. There you go. We gave it all. Love you guys. Peace.
Bye. See ya. That was loud.
Mexico's most important newspapers has just released an investigation revealing that the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration dealt directly with one of Mexico's most powerful drug cartels to provide information on rival criminal organizations. Agents allegedly met with Sinaloa Cartel representatives on Mexican soil. That's against agreements signed by the two countries. Let's get the latest now from CCTV correspondent John Holman. He's live in Mexico City. And John, how surprised are Mexicans by these revelations?
Well, they're not really going to be that surprised, is the honest answer to that one. You've got to remember, just to put this into context, in the last couple of years, Mexicans have found out that US agencies allowed over 1,000 weapons to pass into Mexico illegally, just to see where those would end up. Going back even further, perhaps to the 1980s, it was strongly claimed that US agencies used a drug lord's ranch to grow and then sell drugs, and also as a training ground. So the fact that US agencies may have bypassed Mexican authorities to deal directly with cartel representatives for information may irritate quite a lot of people here, but it's going to surprise fairly few of them.
What about the reaction from Mexican authorities? Are you hearing much from them?
Well, we've been on the phone this afternoon to the Mexican president's office and also to Mexico's foreign ministry. They didn't want to comment on this, and to be honest, it didn't really seem to be on their radar too much. You have to remember that this happened under the administration of former President Felipe Calderón, and he seemed to have a bit more of an open door policy with regard to US agencies getting involved in the struggle against organized crime. The attitude there seemed to be that Mexican institutions were weakened and that any help that they could get would be good. We also spoke on the phone this afternoon to the ex-head of one of the ex-heads of Mexico's unit against organized crime, and he said that he detected a change in the attitude of the current administration under Enrique Peña Nieto. Their attitude seems to be shutting slightly that open door policy, tolerating a bit less US involvement in the country's struggle against organized crime, which is still a massive struggle in this country.
You're talking about potentially shutting these open door policy. These revelations, can they damage relations between Mexico and the United States?
Well, this really isn't going to affect too much that relationship. Of course, it's not going to mean that it's going to generate a lot more trust between the two countries as they continue to try and tackle this problem of organized crime. But the reality is that about 80% of Mexico's trade is with the United States, and it really can't afford to derail that relationship over an incident like this one. An old Mexican president once said, "Poor Mexico, so far from God and so close to the United States." And the sort of wry resignation of that statement and its acceptance now 100 years later still seems to ring fairly true in Mexico, Mike.
John Holman live for us in Mexico City. Thank you.